This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Friday in Winnipeg after a big Bomber win last night on an absolutely glorious evening at sold-out Princess Auto Stadium. Tell me, it's fun. We've heard that a few times, and it's always fun to say. The golden era of Blue Bomber football, as we talked about yesterday, and there was no better place to be in the country last night than South Winnipeg for that game between the Bombers and the Elks. Pretty entertaining game, and one that I'm not sure that the final score really indicates just how tight that game was late in the game. But a brilliant performance by Zach Collier, passing and running as well. And the Bombers run away in the fourth quarter, as good teams do, winning by double digits, covering the spread, and going to 3-0, right up there at the top of the Western Division, tied with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, who have the BC Lions coming up this weekend. And a lot of quarterback uncertainty around the league for the remaining 3 games in the CFL, which we will touch on. Jeff Hamilton's going to join us, get Hammer's take on last night's game. And, of course, we're also going to be all over what has already been a pretty busy day in the National Hockey League. We have a trade to announce. Noah Dobson is on his way to Montreal in a sign-and-trade with the New York Islanders, a 9.5 AAV for an 8-year deal for the defenseman going to Montreal, and in return, Emil Heineman and 2 first-round picks, 16 and 17 overall, to the New York Islanders, who are already on the clock right now waiting to make their selection at number 1. Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff is going to join us. We'll talk more about tonight's first round, some of the top prospects, as well as some of the scuttlebutt around the league with some of the player movement and pick movement as we've seen overall. John Tavares also signing an extension with the Leafs. He was getting his $11 million for that 7 years. Now seems like he's sort of returning the favor. Coming off a very productive season, 38 goals. Tavares gets 4 years, so he gets the term, but a big haircut on the AAV, $4.38 million. So we'll get into that a little bit more. And then later on, get ready for a big weekend and upcoming week with Canada Day at the ballpark with the Winnipeg Goleyes, who are back in town beginning a series against the Milwaukee Milkmen. And before we do marbles, our pal Pat Rathwell is going to come on and fill you in on how you can get a few of the remaining seats on the Huss bus to the Labor Day Classic with the 1930 crew. We had such a great time last year. We've got an extra bus this year. One's already full, and we're closing in on filling it. So I wanted to make sure WSTers had all the info if they want to join us for one of the most fun weekends of the year, the trip out to Regina for the Labor Day Classic. Listen, just before we bring in Michael Remis and hear from Mike O'Shea, and of course the star of last night's game, quarterback Zach Collier, a huge thanks to the sponsors that make our program happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at Coolbet Canada, Princess Auto, Prairie Toyota Dealers, Ben Moss, Rollies Transfer, St. Vital Dental Center, Canadian Club, Manitoba Battery, Aikens Lake, F Apparel, Little Brown Jug, Royal Sports, Boston Pizza, the Goleyes, Assiniboia Down, Breezy Bend Country Club. We'll do a Why Not question of the day for Not AutoCorp at Waverly and McGillivray and get you some fan feedback from fansfirst.ca. Of course, Fans First, very busy last night with Winnipeggers trying to get their hands on tickets to be a part of the scene at Princess Auto Stadium. And as we bring in Michael Remis, Remo, huge win for the Bombers on another perfect night for football in South Winnipeg. Doesn't get much better than that.
Man, that was CFL football there. Packed house in Winnipeg. The Bombers game looked very close heading into the second half, and they do what they've been doing for years, have a massive fourth quarter, and not only win, but cover the 10.5-point spread. Well done, Zach Collier. In a weekend where you might have 5 backup quarterbacks starting, Hustler, Zach Collier was the one consistent, him and Trey Ford, but 334 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. Nick Dembski, game time decision with the two touchdowns. Weefall really emerging this year, and you weren't sure how they were going to be, losing Ontario Wilson to the NFL, losing Kenny Lawler, and Dalton Schoen and Zach just seemed to have that connection, converting on key second downs all night. And so we have the Bomber game, NHL Draft tonight, and a number of trades to announce, the new CBA signings. There's so much going on here.
Yeah, a packed show, that's for sure, heading into tonight's festivities down in LA, and then tomorrow's round 2 through 7. Just before we kind of dive into the game, got to give a couple of shout outs from last night. First of all, great collection of WST regulars at the game last night. Got a chance to see a whole whackload of them in and around halftime. That's before Tyson and the Psychos in 141 were taking their shirts off at the end of the fourth quarter.
I got that screenshot. Let me pull that up. Hold on. You keep going. Sorry.
Yeah. So, Gretzky and Tyson, Julian was there. We saw Spency, Scott Westman, Bridget. Listen, the staff was there. It was great to see everybody there. But a couple special highs. I want to say hi to Kelly, who grabbed me in the hallway and said, Huss, I listen every day, but I don't really get in on the chat. I'm like, you got to get into the marble race, Kelly. Come on. But it was really nice to meet her. And Ron P., who has been a longtime listener. She's always in the marble race. She was working one of the beer stands last night and hollered at me and introduced herself and said she'll be here right now and looking to better her all-time best of 3rd in the marble race. And of course, we will have one a little bit later on today. But great to meet you, Kelly, Ron, and everybody else that said hi at the game last night. Spirits were high, and they still are coming in to Friday's show here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. As far as on the field, Dream, this was a game, and as they say, it's still kind of wild that the Bombers were able to cover the 10.5-point spread when you think about where things were at going into the fourth quarter. I mean, a real strong first half. Edmonton with Julian Grant? That had that brutal drop at the end of the first half that left some points on the board. He came right out of the gate. They go back to him. They score almost immediately after the beginning of the third quarter. And the Bomber third quarter offense was punt, 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 punt. And all of a sudden, we're going into the fourth quarter, and this was a 23-all game. But as great teams do, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have done so many times, they owned the fourth quarter. Zach Collier led the way. And as fun, Remo, as it was watching Zach air it up with an incredible game, 25 of 30 for 334 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Maybe the play of the game that got the fans out of the seats the most was his 13-yard run, looking a little more like Trey Ford than Zach Collier in the fourth quarter to ice the game for Winnipeg.
Yeah, the stat of the night. Who would have thought, Hustler, coming into this game, that Zach Collier would have more rushing yards in this game than Trey Ford? Trey Ford finished 1 carry for 6 yards. Zach 1 for 13 and a touchdown, putting the exclamation mark by throwing the ball into the crowd. Couldn't quite do it on the first opportunity, but gave it another shot and really iced the game. And we talked a lot about the run game. I think the first half, the yardage wasn't there for Paterson and Collier, but when they needed to run out the clock at the end and do what they've done the last couple of years with Brady Oliveira, Matthew Paterson and Quentin Collier certainly got it done. Paterson finishing 65 yards on 12 carries. And again, Dembski a player who you weren't sure was going to play. Game time decision came in 97 yards, 2 touchdowns. And for Zach Huss, I mean, him throwing the deep ball, he was feeling it last night, throwing it up. It didn't matter if guys were covered or not. He said, I'm here and I'm chucking it. And this group of receivers, I mean, Clercius caught a long one as well. 45-yard. Carrick Wheatfall, a 52-yard catch. Dembski, 6-yard. He was chucking it up. And Edmonton, you thought that was a possibility with the way they played defense last week against Saskatchewan, where Trevor Harris put up some big yardage. We haven't seen a game like this for yards from Zach in a while. 3 touchdowns. More importantly, no interceptions. And this is the Bombers that we've seen. They're at 3-0 and getting set for the Stampede Bowl next week, July. What is it? July, is it 3rd? Next Thursday?
Third. I believe they go back with another Thursday game next week.
Yes. And I do enjoy this clip, this comment from Renan. I was thinking this last night. You know, we've had so much talk about Jonathan Taves being 37 for the Jets. Well, how about Zach Collaros, 36, turning 37 in August, with the legs last night and the arm, of course. But what a game. And packed house, sold out at Princess Auto Stadium. Great weather, perfect night, and perfect start to the long weekend here.
Yeah, no doubt. A couple other things that stood out. Certainly, I mean, I thought the defense did a good job of making Trey Ford, have to earn the yards. Tony Jones got into the backfield with the sack. Kyrie Wilson had a sack. And, of course, Reddick Cranby had that big play deep in Bomber territory, forcing that fumble, which was, I think inevitably when you think about how close the game was in the fourth quarter, certainly a big play. But just to your point, like, I don't know if I had asked Pat and Jake at Coolbet to say, give us a number, give us the odds on Zach Collaros to outrush Trey Ford, that would have been like 10-1 or something like that. Trey Ford, only 1 carry for 6 yards in the game. And he did, manage to throw for 252, got a touchdown, didn't turn the ball over throwing it. It was 18 of 29, but that just wasn't up to the standard that Zach Collaros did. Throwing the football all over the field last night with only 5 incompletions. Nick Dembski, who we didn't even know if he was going to play, ends up being one of the stars of the game. 2 touchdowns, 97 yards on 5 catches. And I had to laugh, Reem. I was in the stadium, so I wasn't sure where we were at with Dalton Schoen. And shout out to Ted Lee, who said, we're going on Dalton Schoen over 71.5 yards. And I texted you, what's Schoen at? And you said 67. All right, we need 1 more. And almost as if we were communicating with Zach Collaros, he immediately threw one to Schoen. He got to 75 yards. I thought Schoen had a real strong game, caught every single ball thrown his way, and cashed some tickets for anyone that was on that over for Schoen last night on Coolbet.
Yeah, shout out to Dalton Schoen, who's really come back and shown that big connection here with Zach Collaros that they had in the past. Was it 4 second downs, including a key one at the end to ice it? So, again, 0 points allowed in the fourth quarter for the Bombers, which we have seen in the past from them, shutting it down, but putting up 36, really impressive stuff. And for Edmonton, I know there's a lot of talk about Trey Ford. He's developing. He played a nice game. Didn't throw any interceptions. Did throw a touchdown pass, but they need to win games. They're 0-3 right now. People aren't showing up there. It's been years of futility. I mean, they need to win, and I do wonder how long he lasts as a starter here.
Well, I did the lock shop with Iwanek because Dusty's traveling, and he had brought this up even yesterday, that, listen, the Elks were going to be up against it on this road game in Winnipeg and could very likely and probably will be 0-3. Next week, they've got a home game against the Ottawa Redblacks. They have to win that football game. They cannot start 0-4 again. They got some tough games after that. Saskatchewan, I think, and BC again. Listen, I guess there's a few moral victories that the Elk can take out of last night, but the moral victories aren't selling tickets, and they're not helping their plight right now. So we'll get into that next week, but I think an absolutely crucial game early in the season for the Edmonton Elks. Bombers, meanwhile, kick back. enjoy the weekend and then get ready, as Remis mentioned, for the Stampede Bowl next week. Just looking in the chat, I see Ron P said she was here and just left St. Vital Dental Center. Shout out to our pal Dr. Terry, popping out. It's all, listen, St. Vital Dental Center, Friday afternoon appointments to get your teeth done. And if you're in and around 3 p.m., you'll be able to check out the marble race as well. And she said, I'm here. It was great to see you last night. Just left St. Vital Dental Center with my clean, shiny teeth. Shout out to our pal, Dr. Terry and the gang over there. All right, listen, we will talk more hockey. If you just popped in late, John Tavares, 4-year extension with the Toronto Maple Leafs, and Noah Dobson traded from the New York Islanders to the Montreal Canadiens. 2 first-round picks, 16 and 17 overall. Looking forward to talking to Stephen Ellis about what that might mean for further draft trades as the Islanders try to move up in the first round and grab James Higgins in addition to Matthew Schaefer at the top of the draft. But let's hear from the winning parties last night at Princess Auto Stadium. Head coach Mike O'Shea spoke afterwards, going to 3-0, and here's what coach had to say about his team's third win of the season.
Good. I thought at different parts of the game, one of the phases, sort of took control to create or stop momentum. There was a slight lull at in the third probably, but I thought for coming together at this point in the season, having a 3-phase game where, like I said, at certain points each phase took their turn, making it work for the team, which is pretty pleasing.
All right, well, just over the moon with this third win of the season, Coach O'Shea from last night. Understated as always, early in the year, you can't get too excited, although I do think the head coach was excited about what he saw from QB1 last night. Here's what O'Shea had to say about Zach Collier' performance.
Yeah, he was good. I thought he stood in there and delivered, made good decisions, and thought the receivers did a nice job and at being quarterback friendly and working for him. I also thought that when we needed to run the ball, we ran the ball. It was a little lean. I said on the radio, it was a little lean to start, but when we needed it, they certainly came through and we were able to churn out some yardage on the ground.
Yeah, well, the churning out of the yardage on the ground really was the story of the fourth quarter. And, the coach was right. I mean, it was a little lean early on running the football. But, hey, Zach Collier was throwing it the way that he was, and the guys were catching it, and they were moving the football, so they really did lean on that. But the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, over and over again, especially at home, have proven the ability to get the big boys up front, open up some holes, run the football, move the chains, and keep the football away from their opponents. And that's a pretty good plan for winning in the fourth quarter, and they did that. Now, O'Shea was pleased with the way Zach played, but how about maybe we can get the coach excited about the rushing TD by Collier late in the game, which really iced the win for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
It was awesome. I mean, he was good in the pocket. He moved well. Evaded a bunch of, some pressure and some counter moves and got off. And, I mean, his vision is really, really good. Like, it's elite. So he can pick and choose his moves in the line to the end zone. It's good.
Reem, that's about as excited as we'll get Mike O'Shea over the course of the regular season, I would say, for a play like that. I said he was awesome. And even on the O'Shea standard, I mean, very, very grounded, very calm. Had to crack a smile over that play by Zach in the fourth quarter.
He had a smile. He didn't drop a classic O'Shea, which would be, that's just what we've seen from Zach throughout his time as a Blue Bomber. Why would I expect anything different from him? And that's usually what he would give you. So O'Shea, as you said, over the moon about starting 3-0.
Well, and listen, Zach Collier had a big smile on his face after the game. I mean, the star of the game, and I thought really took a step forward after a nice first game last week against the BC Lions, but one with a couple turnovers and certainly some things to clean up. Here's what Collier had to say about last night's win.
Just felt good to get a win. None of them are easy. Obviously, I think we have to do a better job. I know we have to do a better job on first down and making second down more reasonable. But, I thought we executed when it mattered there in the third quarter. We got to do a better job. That's, everybody here knows that. But great job by the offensive line, the running backs, receivers, everybody there blocking there at the end. And huge conversion there from Dahl, I think, on a slant to really put that one away.
Yeah, listen, Zach acknowledged a third quarter where the team needed to be better and will need to be better in the future, but overall, a real solid game, especially by Zach. But listen, the play of the game, as we mentioned, was that 13-yard scamper that looked a little more Trey Ford-like than normal Zach Colleros. Here's what Zach had to say about that rushing TD.
I've done it many times. It's just been a long time. I don't know if I made somebody miss or not. I kind of just got through the first kind of layer of the defense. They were playing a kind of a cover zero, but not making you hot. They just had kind of had the Mike Green Dog in the back, and he was just kind of out of place. I stepped up. My eyes were on Nick. I didn't really think he got a clean release, and by the time I got to the second level, I was like, I think I can score here, and I was kind of worried about what was coming from my right side. I was thinking, if somebody hits me up top, I'm fine, but I just don't want to get my knee chopped down. So, yeah.
What's it feel like crossing that line then at that point? That's a game, that's a big one.
To cross that line?
Yeah.
Well, if my ball security was poor, it's just because I haven't ran the ball like that in a while, so I got to do a better job, obviously. But, anytime we get within, 4 or 5 yards, we're going to score a touchdown. So I just should have been thinking protect the football.
All confidence for Zach Colleros in the Zach attack. 3 touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground. And the most important stat, another one in the win column for the undefeated Bombers who moved to 3-0. One more clip from last night's game. And, of course, it was Nick Dembski who had 2 house calls last night. We weren't even sure that he was going to play yesterday when we did the show. Here's what Dembski had to say about the game and when he knew he was in.
This morning. This morning came in, told Al that it felt good, and it was a go.
How good did that feel to get out there and get in the end zone a couple times and put up the numbers you did?
Yeah, amazing. You don't want to look into it too much, but after what happened last week with personal production, obviously, of course, it's always great to get a win, but, it's all about bouncing back for this team. And, I thought Zach put me in great position to go out there and make plays. I thought Jason put me in a good position to go make plays, and it worked out.
This game was 23-all going into the fourth quarter. What happened that you guys put the hammer down?
Yeah, I think we just controlled the line of scrimmage. Our O-line does such a good job, and obviously, they're the rock, they're the foundation to our offense. So, we followed their lead. Of course, we're going to go out there and make plays, but at the end of the day, when they control the line of scrimmage, it just flows that much easier for us. So, hat off to them. We ran I was going to use the curse word there, but we ran the crap out of the ball, and it worked.
All right, there's Nick Dembski, one of the other stars of last night's win. We'll talk a little more Bombers and CFL, and of course, Winnipeg Jets with Jeff Hamilton a little later on. But tonight is the NHL Draft, and in just a second, one of our faves, Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff, is going to jump on and get us ready for tonight's first round of the draft. Before that, if you have a move this summer, folks, lean on our good friends at Roley's Transfer, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba, and family-owned and operated here in the city for over 60 years. If you and your family are on the move, head on over to Roleyes.com and click on that request an estimate in the top right corner. Make sure to put in the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies. And then simply let them know when you're moving, where you're moving to, and what needs to be moved. And our friends at Roleyes will turn it around quickly, get your great quote, and get you locked in for the white glove service and treatment that Roleyes customers have been enjoying for over 60 years. For all your moving needs, make it Roleyes. Find out more, request an estimate today over at Roleyes.com. We just mentioned Ron's listening to the show right now. She just popped in for a Friday appointment with our friends at St. Vital Dental Center. Of course, Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff welcoming many WSTers in. And listen, it's important to stay on top of your teeth, get in there regularly. And if it's been a minute since you've been in, give them a holler or pop online at stviteldental.ca and make an appointment. They've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans in St. Vital for many years. Now have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's. Free, convenient parking right behind the building, and all dental services under the sun. Everything from cleanings and checkups to more interesting things like dental implants. It's all there for you. Great friends of the program, St. Vital Dental Center. Hit them up today at stviteldental.ca. Hey, we got another big summer weekend. There was a lot of Canadian Club and ginger ale being enjoyed last night at Princess Auto Stadium. Of course, Canadian Club, the official spirit of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the iconic Canadian whiskey. When you pop by your local Manitoba Liquor Mart this weekend, though, make sure to keep your eyes out for the new Canadian Club ready-to-drink coolers. The club pack's available with the Canadian Club and ginger ale and the new Citrus Smash and the Canadian Club half and half, a lemonade iced tea mixture, which is amazing and perfect for the golf course. It's all waiting for you today. Check out the Canadian Club pack, the Canadian Club pack at your local Manitoba Liquor Marts. And just before we bring in Stephen Ellis, many of you are getting back out to the lake country this weekend. Folks, you got to make sure you got batteries for those boats, campers, Sea-Doos, ATVs, you name it. And when you need batteries, Manitoba Batteries, your local option, where you will save big money, $50, $60 a battery at times over the big box stores, and get the best in customer service that you simply don't get from the big chains, that you do get from the local leaders in all things batteries at Manitoba Battery. 2 locations, Logan Avenue, new location on Dovercourt Drive in the South End. And hey, you're busy, you got a lot going on heading into the weekend, give them a holler or order online at manitobabattery.com, and they'll deliver your batteries to you for free anywhere inside the perimeter with any purchase over $60. It is just that easy. Wake up, stop paying more, shop local. Manitoba Battery is your answer. And great sponsors of WST. ManitobaBattery.com is where you can find out all the information on that. All right, let's get ready for round 1 of the National Hockey League draft. And no one we love welcoming in more around this time of year than our pal, Stephen Ellis. And Stephen, great to have you on the program, but this is normally the time of year where we sit down in person, and I will say I really hope this virtual draft is one and done, because I'm missing what really is the big hockey convention every year of everyone getting together at the draft site.
It felt weird being at the media reception last night, and there was like 30 people maybe, when that number used to be well over 100, and you see people from every city, and there's a great opportunity to meet up with people you haven't talked to in a year. So it is definitely a weird feeling, but this feels like a one and done. And there's going to be a lot of talk of which cities are going to start hosting in the future. I know some people love Montreal. That's a very popular topic, so we'll see.
So you're there. You mentioned there's a bit of a media reception. I guess a few familiar faces, a few of the national guys, but for the most part, just how different is this from what we've enjoyed in Vegas and Nashville and in recent years?
Very different. Vegas was this big spectacle last year. And part of it also, I think maybe an underrated portion of it is when the NHL awards are a part of this one. And that was something where it draw a lot of other people here for more than just the draft. Because some teams obviously wouldn't draft high, but they might have a player going for an award type thing. So it's definitely, if it doesn't feel anywhere special, I'd say the fact that everything between the media hotel and the actual draft location being very close to each other is nice. Unlike last year for Vegas, where if you wanted to do everything, man, you had to spend a lot of money in Ubers. So a bit of a different story this year, but I kind of hope this is a one and done, and it feels like it is going to be a one.
Well, look forward to getting the gang back together wherever the draft is with boots on the ground. However, we move into tonight, and this draft already was shaken up with the draft lottery, where the New York Islanders won and moved all the way up to the number 1 pick overall. And it sounds like this is going to be a big, big night for the New York Islanders, Steve. I'm sure you've seen over the last hour. Noah Dobson traded to the Habs in a sign and trade. Habs get their guy, 8-year extension, $9.5 million. Really nice add to the Habs blue line. But both of their first-round picks, 16 and 17, going to the Islanders, and I would imagine there's plenty of speculation that there could be a further deal because we have heard that not only do the Islanders want to take Matthew Schaefer at number 1, they love to move up in the first round to potentially get James Higgins, who's seen his stock drop from a potential number 1 overall pick to a guy in most mocks sort of at the bottom of the top 10.
Yeah, and for Higgins, the fact that he didn't have an explosive year in college, I think it didn't do him any favors, but we're still looking at a guy who broke records with the NTDP and is one of the best players that program has ever had. So I'm still a big believer in him. I think he's underrated. Now for the Islanders, yeah, they've got those 2 extra first round picks at 16 and 17, where if they can't get into a spot to get James Higgins, I think they'll still be happy to have those guys. But at the same time, I feel like they should be enough to get into a pick to get Higgins, but it's not going to be cheap because no matter what, the teams that are in that kind of trade window, a lot of them, they're going to look at this and say, like, we know who you want here. It's very obvious. It's very clear. Like, we're not going to make this cheap for you if you're going to want to make this happen. But this could be a massive day, one of the biggest days in New York Islanders history. And I think it's exciting no matter what happens, because even if they hold on to those extra 2 picks, you're still going to get some potential middle 6 offensive threats or maybe even another defenseman. Like, you're going to make this pipeline significantly better overnight. So big day. And then also for Montreal, they didn't need any picks in the first round today, but getting a star defenseman like they got without having to move anyone in their pipeline means they still have got some other pieces they could trade to bring in a top 6 forward this summer. So it's a big day for Montreal too.
You know, just as it pertains to a potential trade to move up in the first round, obviously when teams are deciding whether they want to do that, we'd love the extra pick. I guess the big question is from like the 6 to 8 range, where I think we think that Higgins probably gets selected. How big of a drop-off or a difference is there from that point of the first round to the middle where those 2 picks that Islanders just acquired from Montreal are?
You want to pick in the top 10. After that, that's where things start to fall off a little bit. Like, there's a couple of decent defensemen that could be found early in the top 10, Kashawn Aitchison, Jackson Smith, Rathwell, a couple of those guys there. But beyond that, I think you're looking at this and it's like the difference of getting someone like James Higgins and then getting someone like Carter Bear at like 16, there's a big difference there. You definitely 100% would want James Higgins. So I think it's totally worth moving up. And even just from a non-hockey side, like drafting Higgins would be incredible for the marketing team there, which does matter a lot when you're trying to make up for the fact that this team has had a couple of brutal years. They're in a retool here. They need to make a big splash. Going out and getting Schaefer and Higgins is absolutely worth trading whatever it takes to make it happen.
So let's get back up to the top. Just thoughts on Schaefer. When did he become your number 1 ranked player? And just a little bit of a CV on the young man that's going to have his name called first in all likelihood.
Yeah, it was about late November after watching that CHL USA series where it became clear to me he was just the most dynamic, most skilled prospect. And that was a short 2-game sample size. And I know he plays different positions than some of the guys he's going up against, but you watch what Misa was doing and Martone was doing, and they were just fine. Martone was the better of the 2 players in that series, but Schaefer was on a totally different level. And then you watch them in the World Junior Pre-tournament in the camp, and obviously Misa was not there, but you watch what Schaefer was doing. It's like Schaefer was the best defenseman on that team. And you watch him with the Helsinki Gretzky, one of the best performances you've ever seen at that tournament. He didn't play a ton of hockey this year, but every time he hit the ice, he looked like an NHL-ready player. He will not be in the NHL next year because he just needs to play a lot of games. He needs to go out there and play 60-something games and go from there, given how much time he missed. But what a dynamic, skilled defenseman. Reminds me a lot of Miro Heiskanen, a guy that's got no issues rushing the puck and outskate guys. He's also one of the best defensive players, period. Like, you see a lot of these top prospects up front or up on the blue line that kind of prioritize the offensive side of things, but he doesn't do that because he could still affect both ends of the ice. So definitely one of the best defensive prospects we've seen in a long time, and someone I fully believe will be in the Norris Trophy conversation.
Now, I'm checking out, and folks, if you haven't already, head on over to Daily Faceoff. The top 120 prospects is up, but we've also got Steven's final mock draft. And now let me ask you this before we get into it.
It's ruined already. I'll just say that.
Are the selections more the way you would pick it or the way you think it will roll out? The reason why I ask you about this is that you're one of the few voices that has Frondell going number 2 to the Sharks over Michael Misa. And, looking at, certainly the cool bet, they've got a bunch of options for the draft. I mean, Misa's minus 417 right now. You can get Frondell at 3-1 to be the number 2 pick. Just thoughts on those two players and the likelihood that Frondell actually goes to the Sharks.
There were way too many people I was talking to yesterday, people who would know, who were like, Misa's not number 2 anymore. And I don't know if I would agree with that. Like, I think Misa is the better player. You look at Frondell and you say, okay, well, this guy's a bigger body. I guess they're the same size, but a more physical player. He can dominate guys with that physical ability. And if he's not scoring, he's still finding a bit more ways to be effective. Misa, to me, is a more all-around forward, and he's one of the better all-around forwards that we've seen in the draft in recent years. So there's been a lot of talk, and it's not just, I don't think it's completely a smokescreen, but I think even in the time since I published that mock draft, I feel like there's been more, just a bit of swaying. I don't know if the San Jose Sharks at this exact moment know who they're picking, and I think that's what makes this interesting.
Wow, that's what. Now, if they did go with Frondell, how quickly would the Chicago Blackhawks be running to the podium to select Michael Misa?
Very quickly. They'd be very, very, very quickly. And we know the Sharks have been rumored in trade talks today, too. They could trade this pick. That's all we need to make this day even more insane, I think, right? So I guess we'll see kind of what happens there. But with Misa is a very, very special prospect in my mind. I remember watching him at a very young age. He grew up in Oakville, Ontario, which is where I'm from, and you see this pure talent and the skill. And remember when the story goes that he applied for exceptional status in the OHL and wasn't going to get it. And then when he had the OHL Cup performance where he broke Connor McDavid's all-time tournament scoring record, that's when things changed. And everyone's like, whoa, okay, this guy's ready to go. He's ready to go play in the OHL next year. And at the time, he was more of a two-way threat. He has evolved his game to be so much more than that at this point. And that's why if he's on the board of 3, I don't see a situation where they pass him over.
It's been interesting seeing there's a few consensus picks so far. Number 1 is Schaefer. I have seen back and forth, and certainly, the Frondell-Misa conversation at 2-3. Everything indicates that Caleb Denoyer will be the 4th player picked. Tell us about him and why we think that the Utah Mammoth will focus in on him, assuming the first 3 picks go as expected.
They need a big centerman, and I think it's funny because there's all this talk about how small their top 6 is. I don't think they have I don't think there's a single NHL team with a literally more taller, bigger prospect pool. Everyone there is 6'4" or higher. So him being 6'1", 6'2", I think would be interesting. He doesn't get enough love in this draft, kind of like Hagens, but for a different reason. You look at Denoyer and you're like, okay, 84 points or somewhere in that 80-point range. Pretty solid season. Yeah, that's really good. Nothing crazy, nowhere near what Porter Martone or obviously Michael Misa or even Jake O'Brien did. But you got to take into account that he actually had multiple injuries this year, and he went from playing center and taking faceoffs to moving to the wing to try and kind of offset that. And he never was at 100% this season. He still put up over 80 points. So what's he going to do in a full year? I think the fact that he's really good around the net, he's a tough body to move. He would be a really good, maybe number 2 center on Utah going forward. Well, with all due respect to Barrett Hayden is not Caleb Denoyer, but also teams love that this is a proven winner. He won the QMJHL championship this year. He won the U17 World Challenge. He won the U18 World Championship. He won the Helenka Gretzky this past year. And he was a key part of every single one of those victories. And a guy that's played in all those meaningful games at a young age, that shows, he's got a lot of confidence. He really believes in himself, and he can perform in big situations as he has done in all those situations. So I like that at number 4.
Now, after 4, it gets sort of interesting. And, there's a couple centers on your mock. Jake O'Brien. Was he the guy that's not there because he has to be working on the farm right now this weekend?
That's Brady Martin. And that one's interesting because Brady Martin's probably my favorite prospect at this point that I should be his agent, because he's this is a guy you win with. And I feel like he's getting discounted by the average fan because they see something 70 points. Guy's not that great. It's no, you should see what he does. He might wait until he figures out how to be a stronger skater. He's going to be indestructible.
But Jake O'Brien to the Preds at 5. Another OHL player, a big year for the OHL, which is right in your wheelhouse, being out there in the East. But tell us about Nashville and Philly and the decisions of O'Brien and Martin, those two centers, going before Porter Martone, who at one point we thought was maybe going to be a top 3 pick.
Martone is my third. I'd say he's the third best prospect in this draft. But for the Predators, that one would be more of a, like, they need a centerman. You look at their pipeline, they've got some decent wingers. They don't have a single notable center in their pipeline. This would be a good fit. And they got the same production this year, both Martone and O'Brien. O'Brien did have one of the best goal scorers we've seen in recent OHL memory of Nick Lardis, the Blackhawks prospect, to pass to. So that definitely didn't hurt his case. But I think it could go either way. It just, if it felt like if it's close and then the deciding factor is need, I don't think they take Martone, because as much as I would love that pick for them, I think O'Brien is a more interesting fit. And also, there's been a lot of talk about, like, if you ask scouts, like, who could be the most interesting player in the top 5, Jake O'Brien is the one that gets mentioned almost every time.
Now, a guy that, when we've had our draft conversations on, we inevitably come back to because of how intriguing a prospect he is, of high risk but potentially really high reward, is Roger McQueen from just down the highway with the Wheaties in Brandon. You have him going to the Pittsburgh Penguins at number 11. And, you said in the piece that this might be the riskiest pick, but it also could be a pick that, if it goes well, could be an absolute steal. Give people, if they're unfamiliar with the background of McQueen, the CV on him. A huge center, but one that didn't see the ice very much last year in his draft year.
Yeah, multiple back injuries doesn't help, and over the last 2 seasons. And back injuries are tough for any player, but when you're also 6'5", that's never easy too. The bigger players often have had tough times with their back injuries, and I think a lot of teams are scared based off of what they just saw with Caden Lidstrom a year ago, and the fact that he basically didn't play until the playoffs this year. So I think that with him, it's definitely something where you see the skill. He's one of the most talented players out there, but I don't know if he's going to be 100% ready to go and be as effective as a lot of teams want him to be. So we'll see. I don't have access to the medical records, but I know there's a lot of teams that are just really concerned. With Pittsburgh, they typically like to, well, with Kyle Dubas specifically, he likes to look for the more sure things. I think with him, though, you're looking at this and saying, like, okay, we have 2 picks back-to-back, assuming they keep it. Let's try and maximize, and let's go from there.
Stephen, what do you make of just how stocked this first round is expected to be with Canadian kids, which is certainly has not been the norm recently, and especially the OHL? Is this just one of those years that there's a ton of talent coming out of Canada, and particularly the O? Yeah,
like you look at the USA, and we might not see a single NTDP player drafted in the first round this year, which is like a shock when you look at sometimes like half the top 10. Then you look at a very poor year for Finland. Like, I would not be surprised if there's not a single Finnish player drafted in the top 100. Couple other guys. Yeah. It's a really, and next year's not going to be any better. Next year's going to be a rough one too. It's a really weak time for Finnish hockey, which is rough because they're hosting the World Juniors in a few years. It's also not great for the Americans. Yeah, they just won the back-to-back World Juniors, but their NTDP crew is not very good at all. So that's a little concerning for them. With Canada, like, not to bring it back to the World Juniors, like, you look at all the talk about, like, oh, is Canadian junior hockey in a bad spot right now after all these recent years? Like, you look at it, the players they were able to leave off the team were like 100-point defenseman in Zane Parak and 134-point goal scorer in Michael Misa. And that's just scratching the surface. They've also won the last couple under-17 World Challenges. They've won the last 2 U18 World Championships. They won the Helenka Gretzky like 230 times in a row. So this is a program that is working. They continue to develop a lot of guys. So anyone who's like feeling like we're heading into a dark age of Canadian junior hockey, like, it's just not true. But we'll see kind of how many of the top prospects next year are playing in the NCAA, because there's a very good chance that, like, of the top 10 Canadian, like, CHL prospects, half of them could be in the NCAA next year. Well, and that's a topic that I'm sure, especially if everyone was together, would, I think, be getting even more attention. But
You're exactly right. And I think in a lot of ways, we're going to see the Canadian Hockey League become a little younger overall. Would you agree? I mean, some of the top guys that are picked at 18 that still have eligibility often, and I think we're going to see this after this draft is completed, many players going the NCAA route now that they are eligible after playing in the Canadian Hockey League.
Yeah, like I think every player is different. Like some guys just need to play games, and some guys just need to get those reps in, and other guys just need to play more physical competition and things like that. So I would say I don't know if everyone really knows what's going to happen. Like we expect next year that Gavin McKenna will be playing college hockey and he'll not be playing in the WHL. And then you look at that and say, okay, well, there's Keaton Verhoff. He's the best defenseman out of Victoria. We already know he's going to the NCAA. Lots of rumors about what Ryan Rubrick might do and maybe Ethan Belchitz at some point. So there's a lot of really quality CHLers that will move there. That's going to open up some opportunities for other guys to shine and play bigger roles than you would have previously expected. But I think overall, it's an exciting time for players because they get this perfect choice. It's an exciting time for college programs that now not only are they competing for players from other leagues, like they're now having to prove they've got the best facilities in the world, and they're competing against teams like the London Knights and everything they offer to the table. So I think it's really exciting there. And I don't know if anyone knows how this landscape's going to go.
Hey, I just want to double back to what you just mentioned about the World Juniors last year. You mentioned Zane Parekh, obviously, who made his NHL debut at the end of the year for the Calgary Flames. But Misa's going to go 2 or 3 in this draft. We've known about him for a long time. Like, why, in particular him, why was he not on that team? And did you think it was a fair omission, or was this a whiff by Hockey Canada?
It really felt like Hockey Canada had kind of determined their team in advance, because if you look at like Beckett Seneca in particular was probably a top 5 player for Canada at their training camp in Ottawa, and he didn't make the team. And he was also one of the last additions to the team due to an injury in the lineup. So yeah, it definitely feels like something where they made their team. They, for some reason, didn't feel like Misa was a part of it, and then they kind of built the roster from there. So it did feel wrong. It'll be interesting to see if we see Misa there next year, because I don't think he'll be he's probably got the best shot of being in the NHL next year. I don't think he should be in the NHL next year, but it's going to be really interesting to see kind of like there was a talk that he didn't really want to play with the U18 World Championship team, things like that. So we'll see. But I think hopefully everyone puts that last year's experience behind them and says, let's just focus on trying to win this year. Because also, not only is the lineup going to be good for Canada, their goaltending is going to be probably the deepest we've ever seen at the World Juniors, where Joshua Ravensburger, who can go first overall, is going to, or first round, probably going to be there. Jack Ivankovic was part of the team last year. Carter George was part of the team last year. Evan Gardner should have been in the conversation after a great year in the WHL. Lucas Beckman out of the queue. Like, this is a really good time actually for Canadian goaltending prospects.
Stephen, in stark contrast to the last couple of years, there's a ton of Manitoba talent that is likely going to be selected over the course of the weekend. One guy that we expect to be in the first round is Carter Bear, a Winnipeg native playing with the Everett Silvertips. Tell us a little bit about his draft year and his prospects heading into tonight, where he expects to be called probably sometime in the mid-first round.
Yeah, I really like Carter Bear, a guy that the more I watched him, the more I liked him. And a lot of people have been asking, like, did his season-ending injury really hurt his draft stock? And it's like, he missed a few weeks. Like, he didn't really miss, like, a long time like Roger McQueen. And the one time I really got a chance to see him up close in person, he played in the USA CHL Prospects Challenge, and he was sick, so he was definitely not on 100%. But you look at the goals, and it's funny, the biggest knock against him, I think, is his shot not being great. Well, for a guy whose shot's not that great, he put up 40 goals. So imagine what happens when he can figure out how to pick his selection a bit better, put some more accuracy behind it, not miss the net as much as he did. But he's also super intense. He's not a massive forward, but he fights for every battle like his life depends on it. And that's a reason why he had so many points this year, because he was one of the hardest guys to play against. And I called him the most intense forward in this draft, and I believe it. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's taken 13th, 14th, 15th. I know some teams think he's a top 10 prospect, but yeah, I'm a big fan of Carter Bear.
Stephen Ellis of Daily Faceoff getting us ready for round 1 of the NHL Draft tonight, rounds 2 through 7 tomorrow from LA. I normally, like, the Jets are picking 28th, which is way down. There's so many things that can happen before they're on the clock, that it's very difficult to project late in the first round. That being said, yourself, Scott Wheeler, a number of people that really respect and have had on the show, all seem to have London Knights right-hand defenseman Henry Brustowicz going to the Winnipeg Jets. Tell us about the player and why do you think he's a fit and why did he end up going to Winnipeg on your mock?
I think everyone's just going to call him Henny B because not exactly the easiest name to pronounce.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah. They've had a lot of forward depth. I think they're going to probably take a defenseman. If Blake Fiddler's off the board, Sacha Bowen-Medien, if he's off the board, I think this is where they'll go. It feels like a bit of a stretch, not a huge one. And for where Winnipeg's drafting, like I think it's the right pick. There's nothing super special about his game. He's not a top pairing defenseman. But what he will do is he could do a lot of everything. You need him on the penalty kill, he could do that. Need him to be on the power play, he could do that. Need him to block shots, he'll do it. He's become a much better playmaker. Much better with the puck. He started to shoot a lot more this year. But also the thing that's really kind of fascinating about him is that he's played in 2 Memorial Cups and 2 OHL championships. When you talk about guys like being in big moments, being part of the London Knights in general, a team that's run like a pro hockey team, that's a big deal. But then when you're doing it with like a team that's gone so far the last couple of years, like that's very valuable experience. And he took on a much bigger role this year. And I think if Sam Dickinson makes the NHL at the San Jose Sharks next year, NEB is going to be very important for London. So definitely a guy that I'd be looking at.
How big is he? And is he a physical player?
So he's, I'm going to look that up because I actually don't know that his height off the top. I know he's 6 foot. Well, yeah, he's 6'1". Got some good muscle. He's not the most physical guy, but he doesn't shy away from physicality. Like he had a lot of penalty minutes this year because he was very engaged physically, but it doesn't feel like he goes out there for the big hit. It feels like he's just going more to just try and win a battle. So not super strong. I wouldn't say physicality is a major strength of his, but he can handle it.
Okay, Steven. Now, we run through a bunch of the players, interesting picks. Let me ask you this. Give me 3 names that are your guys. Like, everyone in your line of business has some guys that they're maybe higher on than others that you think maybe other people are undervaluing. Give me 3 names tonight that you're particularly intrigued to see where they go that you think will be great picks for teams if they pick them, maybe even earlier than a lot of people have them on mocks.
I'm a massive Brady Martin fan. That is a guy, like I mentioned earlier, that's a guy you win with. You see the Sam Bennett's, the Brad Marchands, the Matt Kachucks, that intensity, he brings that. And I feel like if he was playing on the London Knights this year, I think we're talking about a significantly like higher offensive ceiling for him. Also, it really feels like he's been kind of a late bloomer in terms of a lot of other prospects. Like I remember watching him at 15, 16, and he had to do so much offensively, but then he missed a lot of time with an injury last season. I feel like a lot of people look at this and say there's still a lot of runway for him. So I'm kind of banking on that. I like Kashawn Aitchison. That's an old school defenseman who wants to go out there and absolutely murder everyone. But he also scored like 26 goals this year out of nowhere. No one saw that coming. And Barrie had a couple of good blue liners and he overtook them all and became their most important player. And then Jack Ivankovic, the goaltender, he's going to the University of Michigan next year. You watch him at all these showcase events, whether it be the OHL Top Prospects game, the World Juniors, things like that. Like he continued to look so good. He played in 3 tournaments for Team Canada this year and was excellent in all of them. Only played the 1 game in the World Juniors. It was that loss to Latvia, but he was not the reason they lost. If anything, he was probably their best player in that game. So he's 5'11". His dad is 6'5". You're kind of hoping he can become a little bit bigger like that. But you watch him play and you see a lot of Dustin Wolf and the way he moves, the way he holds his glove hand, the way he composes himself. So those are 3 of my favorite prospects in this draft.
What's the goalie class like?
We could see 3 goalies go off the board tonight.
Really?
Yeah. So Joshua Ravensbergen, future number 1 goalie. I'm very confident in it. There's Semen Frolov, a Russian goalie, and Pyotr Andreev, another Russian goalie. He's a bit smaller. I think he's like 6 foot, but has really impressed scouts with how athletic he is. And then there's Frolov, who's got a bit more size, can be a bit inconsistent, but when he's on his game, he's one of the best goalies. And I think this year, given that there's not a lot of great first-round talent, like I know there's a lot of talk about Will Horkoff being a first-round pick. Like I don't think he's a first-round pick most years. But in this year's draft class, it's kind of like, well, I get it. But that's why I think that we're going to see up to 3 goalies taken in the first round this year because teams are going to just try and bet high on on getting someone in net. And I don't care which team you are, draft a goalie every year. If you've got multiple picks, draft a goalie every year. You never know which one of those guys are going to make it work.
Yeah, who's going to be the Connor Hellebuck coming out of the 5th round and then winning a multiple Vezina and a Hart Trophy? Stephen Ellis is with us. Hey, before we go, these guys have already been picked in the 1st round, but just wanted to pick your brain on what you saw this year from Colby Barlow and Braden Yeager, former 1st rounders that will be coming to a training camp looking to make the next step as pros next season.
With Barlow, you look and you say, like, okay, he had a good opportunity. He was no longer just drowning, like his life was over, and sound where he had to do everything, and you were kind of hoping for a better season. And realistically, he wasn't that great. He still could shoot, he could still score, but it felt like watching him play against like with Cal Ritchie or Beckett Seneca, like those two guys felt like they were just another step above every single night. And it always felt like he was like the 3rd or 4th best player on the team most nights. With Yeager, still a fan of him, really good two-way forward. This year, like I think he continues to show that he's not just prioritizing offense like he did maybe a year ago. He's trying to become a much more rounded player. And when he left Moose Jaw to go play with Lethbridge, it felt like everything kind of really changed for him. He was able to unlock some more offensive opportunities. He didn't have to go out there and do everything, but I also watched him with the World Juniors. That's 2 years in a row where he was one of Canada's best players. So I still like him a lot.
Great stuff. So hey, where are you at for the show tonight? I mean, are you right in the theater or whatever? I mean, I still have a hard time wrapping my head around how this is going to look and what guys like you that are there are going to be doing.
I got an email earlier today, and I believe they haven't even fully finished setting it all up. So we'll see what happens. But I understand. I don't know kind of how this format's going to work. But what I hope is, like last year with the draft, it was awesome to get the Sphere. But after like pick 5, you couldn't see the Sphere anymore because you got to go to the press area, and you don't get a view of the Sphere at that point. So it's a different story when it's a draft and it's just like a regular NHL arena. But when you're in a cool place like this theater or like last year, like you want to be able to see it. So I'm not totally sure where we're going to end up actually being.
Any rumors of celebrity pickers for the draft tonight?
So I wanted to start a rumor for Nashville. My wife's a big Miley Cyrus fan, and she's always jealous that she's always mad that Miley Cyrus doesn't tour. So I was kind of hoping like Miley Cyrus would be here today for like Nashville, so I could be like, haha, I saw your favorite singer, you still haven't seen her, stuff like that. But that'd be mean. So no, honestly, teams are doing a good job of keeping it quiet, except for Nashville announcing an active Chicago Blackhawks player as one of the guys that are going to be announcing it, and Shea Weber.
Active Chicago Blackhawk. Nicely done. Folks, you can read the mock, the top prospects, and so much more over at Daily Faceoff. Steven, miss you this week, buddy. We'll do it again a year from now. Thanks so much for jumping on, and have a great weekend down in LA.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. There's Stephen Ellis. Give him a follow on X as well. We'll have his tag in the description of this video. Great conversation. And tell you what, I love drafts. I even watched the NBA draft not knowing anything about pretty much anybody that was being selected a couple days ago. So now let's get on with it and see what happens. And again, we'll get into this a little later on when Remis rejoins the program. A couple big moves today. One signing from the Maple Leafs and John Tavares, and then that trade from Noah Dobson going to Montreal for the 2 first-rounders, 16 and 17 in the first round. A lot of speculation that the Islanders are just getting going and will look to move those picks and move up into the first round to try to get their hands on James Higgins. Princess Auto Stadium, what can you say about that crowd last night? A 7th straight sellout for the Bombers. And the Bombers announced yesterday that there's less than 2,000 tickets available for the next game. Listen, when it comes to the CFL right now, it is absolutely the place to be. And of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They were the game sponsor last night, gave out those really nice blankets. And saw my pal Ken, great job on the coin toss last night as well. Of course, Princess Auto, proud sponsors of the Bombers. And of course, Winnipeg Sports Talk. And that's the place where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is waiting for you at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them, Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon. And you can always shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. I was out a little earlier just looking out on the river, and there's some guys putting their lines in the water. Fishing season is fully underway, and I'll tell you what, I'm counting down to getting out to Aikens Lake Wilderness Lodge with our winner, Mark, from the HSC Foundation auction we did earlier this winter. Of course, Aikens Lake, such a special place. If you're thinking about a world-class fly-in fishing opportunity where you can be on the water in less than 2 hours from the city of Winnipeg, Aikens Lake is the spot. And as incredible as the world-class fishing is, the hospitality from the Aikens team and the Trent family is even better. Head on over to aikenslake.com for more information on options for the 2025 fishing season. And of course, you can check them out on all the social channels at Aikens Lake for more on what the Aikens experience is all about. And hey, big sale this weekend over at F Apparel. It's the Everything Under the Sun sale for the best in custom men's clothing and so much more. Everything 15% off on the 28th and 29th only. So get on down to 190 Smith Street. Check out custom suits starting at $400, chinos, golf pants, custom shirts, both tucked and untucked styles, and the biggest and best selection of menswear accessories you'll find in town. 190 Smith Street, as I mentioned. You can find out more on the sale or make an appointment to come in for a fitting this weekend online at EPH apparel.com. All right, Hammer's going to join us in just a couple of minutes. Remo, fun conversation with Stephen Ellis. With this Jets pick at 28th overall, it's one of those times where, we'll be glued into early on and seeing what's happening on the draft. I'm still very interested as to whether the Jets hold on to their pick, make it at 28, or is that pick potentially going to be used to maybe add a player that can help sooner as opposed to later, considering where the Jets are in their quote-unquote window.
Yeah, we've talked about this for a while. Just the fact that they haven't really traded a pick before at the draft, and there's been a lot of names and teams being floated out now. I haven't really heard the Jets connected to anyone mentioned by any insiders. Darren Dreger did mention free agent Brock Besser would be of interest to the Jets yesterday on Insider Trading. Was it David Pagnotta mentioned Andrew Mangiapane? But those are free agents. You haven't heard them in the mix for any trades. And at 28, it seems like, they're going to take a defenseman. They don't have a lot of defensemen in the system. Elias Salamonson, you wonder what kind of impact he can make. And Alphonse Fry, who was a second-round pick last year. We talk with Stephen Ellis, just now. He's got Henry Brustowitz from London.
Henny B.
And there. But, the other name that we've seen, Blake Fiddler, if he's available, who, he's, what is it, after 10? It seems like anyone can go just about anywhere. Blake Fiddler, and he mentioned another defenseman as well. So I'm curious if they're going to take a defenseman, and we'll likely see them here as development camp starts Monday. With off-ice testing and all that, and the on-ice sessions are at Hockey for All Center Tuesday to Friday. So everything happening very quickly. They're announcing the new CBA. I don't know if July 1 is still going to be the free agent day, but you and I seem to be in agreement. They would never have free agency on 4th of July because you can't ruin the Americans' holiday. But, it's like a national thing here for July 1. When you're day off to be sitting inside watching free agent frenzy on TSN. It's crazy.
I listen, it is it makes no sense to do it on Canada Day. And listen, for everyone that thought that maybe we could move it up a little earlier, well, they just added 2 more games to the schedule. So that doesn't look like that's happening anytime soon. In all likelihood, we're going to have this same scheduling for free agency moving forward. Can we not pick the 2nd or the 3rd or June 29th? Surely there's a way to do it. I guess the contracts end at the end of June, so that is the day. But there's got to be a better way of doing this for all parties involved.
Whose genius idea was it to be July 1? But that's what it is. We'll wait and see when they announce the new CBA. They did have a press conference to say that they're going to be having an announcement with the actual CBA in the future, but they have an understanding, and NHL Network putting out this graphic, 84-game regular season, Huss. The reasoning, they say, it gives, now you can play everyone in the division equally. Well, you could have done that before in 82 games. They just decided not to. Don't be fooled. They wanted to cut down on preseason games, as there's like between 6 and 8 for each team. The Jets announced their 6-game preseason schedule yesterday. They wanted to eliminate some preseason games, but keep all the money. So they're like, we'll just add 2 regular season games. Lovely. So I guess disappointing that the records are going to all have like an asterisk for a bit. You saw this in football. Now everything's getting broken for yards.
I mean, they did play 84 games at one point, I believe.
For 2 seasons. They did in the 90s for two seasons. So that's the biggest change. And with the signing rates, you'll have a guy's rights until age 22, regardless of what league. The contracts, we're seeing 8-year deals right now. Well, you're not going to be seeing that anymore when this CBA expires. So next year will be the last year you can offer players 8-year contracts. And you wonder if that'll have an effect. You just saw Dobson sign today with Montreal. And, we talked about it yesterday. We did talk about these yesterday. E-Bug goalie, emergency backup goalies, full-time position now. You're not having beer league attendees taking NHL shots in games, potentially. Probably the safest option. And dress code. We're going to be seeing a dress code, Huss. I'm curious what that's going to look like. And
no, there's no mess code. They cannot mandate a dress code, which means it's a free-for-all. So here's my question. And let's put this out to the chat. Why not question of the day for not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray? With no mandated dress code in the league, which Winnipeg Jet player is going to be the wildest dresser next year? I mean, do we think that we will have like Austin Matthews is famous for some of his flashy outfits. I'm not sure that there's been a guy on the team that has really stood out as the fashion plate, but who do we think will benefit the most from no dress code and take advantage of it next year with the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Will someone just come in straight pajamas to the game? Who's going to be the first player? For let's say it's like a noon game. Or isn't it 11 a.m. game on some U.S. holiday? Just show up in pajamas. Why not? And the last one everyone wanted here, playoff game rosters must be cap compliant. So no more, manipulating the salary cap during the year so you can be over the cap in the playoffs. Remember when Nikita Kucherov bragged about that on his T-shirt? Yeah. However many million over the cap, is being mocked by the players.
Here's the thing. I will defend Tampa in one respect. They were the team that brought it up at the Board of Governors meetings that something should be done about it, and nobody supported them. So they said, fine, then we'll just play by the rules that are that, and went out and utilized it to the max extent and won the Stanley Cup. So if people had listened to Tampa originally, none of this would have happened before, but I am very much in favor of the playoff rosters being cap compliant. And the great news is that we've got labor peace. We don't even need to mention the word lockout or anything like that. One more year of the current CBA and then another 4 afterwards. So onward with the NHL and the NHLPA. All right, let's bring in the Hammer, Jeff Hamilton. And this segment brought to you by your Prairie Toyota dealers who want to remind you to get in and go with the Toyota Tundra. Quality that means it has the strength to take on any challenge, off-road or hauling a heavy load. And it's backed by the peace of mind knowing it's a Toyota. So take the road less travel in comfort. Room for teammates, friends, and gear. And can we talk about how good the Toyota Tundra looks? Anywhere it goes, the Tundra is turning heads. Available now from $154 weekly for 60 months at 5.39% APR with $71.99 down. Hybrid options are available. Visit shoptoyota.ca. Friday afternoon, it's Hammer time. Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press joins us now. And Hammer, beautiful day, big weekend coming up. And a lot of people maybe a little tired today, but certainly with big smiles if they were at Princess Auto Stadium. What a scene last night, and a great game and a heck of a performance by the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, led by Zach Collier, dare I say, with both his arm and his legs. What's up?
Hustler, everything's great, man. TGIF, great to be here. Absolutely. What a night for Zach Collier and his Winnipeg Blue Bomber teammates, but particularly number 8. It looked like vintage Zach Collier. And I want to harken back to my comments early on. I don't know if it was on this show or our CFL 110 that we do every Tuesday, but Zach Collier was coming into this season with a chip on his shoulder, not just because of the suspension. I'm not saying that wasn't part of it for sure, but you know, the down season last year that he had, right? That down season of when it came to touchdowns and interception ratio, but also had a year where he had the most passing yards of his career. People were kind of calling him washed up, done, you know, one more year kind of thing. And especially after the Grey Cup, right? No, there wasn't a lot of Zach Collier fans, and Zach's the kind of guy, he's not going to show it. He's not going to wear it like with body language, but he's going to be seething inside. And I'm not trying to suggest he's taking his critics or Winnipeg Blue Bomber fans that were, you know, and using that. It's just him feeling disrespected. And this guy has been a winner his entire career. I think what we're seeing this year is a Zach Collier who wants to prove his doubters wrong, but is also being, how do I put it here, Huss? Unleashed, if you will, with Jason Hogan as the offensive coordinator this year. I will say this, people love Buck Pierce and deservedly so, but there were times, you know, and more frequently as his tenure came to an end here in Winnipeg, where the issue with him was being too conservative, not opening up that air attack. And so I think we're getting a little taste here, whether it was Chris Strevler in the season opener or Zach Collier in this last game, of just how dominating this team can be in the air. And you're going to have to ask me other things so I can stop talking, because we can go into the Carrick Weefalls, we can go into the receiver group here, but it was obviously whether you want to call it a statement game against an Elks team who's still, you know, as we predicted, Huss is still searching for it. So I guess I really predicted, as far as the spread goes, predicted to drop to 0-3. So it's not like it was this heroic flex necessarily, but man, was it impressive given the fact that this team is known to kind of have that run attack be first.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I mean, in the fourth quarter at 23-all, I mean, incredible that the Elks found a way not only to lose the game, but not cover the spread. But credit where credit is due. I mean, that was vintage Winnipeg Blue Bomber football in the fourth quarter. And
100%.
I mean, listen, the third quarter was ugly. There's no other way around it. Edmonton get the ball, that went down and scored right off the bat, tie the football game. And the Bombers
the Bombers kicked it to them when they could have taken the ball to start the third quarter, and then they scored the touchdown. That's what happened.
Were they going for wind in the fourth, I guess?
They were going for wind in the fourth. I had this conversation with Mike afterwards. They could have taken the ball. They kicked the ball, and then that prompted the touchdown drive, and they could have taken the ball because Edmonton started. I
was very confused at why Edmonton got the
potential
ball right
of a
out
win
the gate.
and the potential of win and the needing to maybe hit a 60-yarder to squeeze one out against the Edmonton Elks. That was the logic.
I texted Remis. I'm like, did I miss a quick 2-and-out? I mean, what the heck happened? Nope. No, they kicked it. But
a lot of players didn't love that one either.
Back to the fourth quarter, though. Like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and listen, I thought Edmonton did a pretty good job with the run game early on. And listen, when Zach was throwing the way he was, I mean, they were going to keep on letting him air it out. But once again, the offensive line, the run game steps up and, you know, in a lot of ways, just like a python, squeeze the Elks out of that game. But ironically, in a game where Zach was 25 of 30 with 334 and 3 touchdowns, it was the play that he made with his legs that I think had people with their jaws on the floor, and really the play that did ice the Elks last night and get you your cover.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a 3-point game in favor of Winnipeg at that moment, and it was a second down, if I'm not correct. And just look at the fleet of foot. I mean, he sideswiped a couple guys, and here's the thing: it's not that Zach is not known to be a runner. It wasn't like this was Ricky Ray here that was, splitting the defense. Zach is known as a runner. Like, he's a guy who just doesn't run north-south. He runs east-west to extend plays, and I would argue that was a signature, if you will, of his style of play for a majority of his time here in Winnipeg. We just haven't seen as much of that, and certainly we haven't seen a ton of touchdowns. Now, I'll remind viewers, he actually had a pair of rushing touchdowns in 2023, but this touchdown, just to get a better understanding of how frequent this is, was his third touchdown. So those two others 2 years ago in the last 10 years. So he doesn't have a ton of rushing touchdowns, but that was absolutely a pivotal moment to go up by those two scores, and just to get it's all touchdowns are equal on the scoreboard, Huss, but not all touchdowns are equal in the good feels department. They're always going to feel good. You're always going to be happy for your teammates, but Zach Collaros running in a touchdown like that gets the offense going. It gets the defense going. It gets special teams going on the very next play. So that was a massive play, and ultimately just another great play by Zach Collaros on a night that had many from him.
How about Dembski? I mean, we played the clip earlier on. I mean, he knew that he was going to be good to go in the morning, but, was listed as a game time decision. Makes it impact right off the bat. And then, a beautiful play, catching the ball on the run, evading the tackle, and taking it to the house. This has been a real, despite last week, which was very quiet for Nick, overall, he seems to be playing some of his best football right now and being able to do it while not at 100%.
Yeah, he literally had the lowest possible output you could have in a game. 1 catch, 1 yard. So in that second game against BC, and he referenced that in his post-game comments. He said, it's not about individual performance per se, but when you have a night like that, you do, it's the onus is on you to bounce back and do it for your team and get back to where they expect you. And what a response, Huss. If it was as if his stock had risen with his 2 touchdown day in the season opener, dropped in fantasy after such a bad outing, and then is going to skyrocket out, after this. I hate to use fantasy as a reference, but I made that joke with him after the game, and he seemed to agree with it. But this is a guy who, he's kind of made the difficult look routine. And what I mean by that is he's made the over-the-shoulder catches look pretty easy when everybody knows how difficult, how an added element of that makes the difficulty in a catch. But for him we've never really seen him do it while getting simultaneously crunched at the same time by two defenders. So it was just an added element of his highlight reel plays. And this is the thing about Dembski. It took him so long to register his first 1,000-yard season. It was only a couple years ago, and now I think it's 2 in a row. If it's 3, I apologize.
No, he's got 2 in a row. If you recall when we did our CFL 110 preview and we were going through all the season props,
I used it against him?
That was the one that I'm on, so I'm paying very close attention to his receiving yards. Okay. And the number was right in and around 1,000. And yeah, you're exactly right. He'd been building up.
He's a fine wine at this point.
Last
That's all
2 years, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, looking for a third.
Well, and my point in that was that it's almost like he's a fine wine. He's just getting better with age. You would naturally believe that his drop-off would be coming right now, but here he is. And the other thing too about him is he puts a lot of work into his he's a great athlete. You hear that a lot about guys, but he puts a lot of work into his craft, and Zach Collaros also loves him. So Zach Collaros is going to be looking for him, wanting him to have big nights, and so long as that Nick Dembski can be that reliable, consistent catcher, he'll keep getting those opportunities. So yeah, it feels like this season particularly, and if he can stay healthy, he obviously played through this ankle injury he was nursing, but you gotta wonder where that's going to be. I doubt that's feeling much better after the game, so that's something certainly to monitor. And we know that health has been an issue in the past, at least earlier in his career. So, but if he can stay healthy and on the field, there's no reason he could have another massive year, and no doubt a third consecutive 1,000-yard season.
Hey, let me ask you this. When we talk about Dembski, Dalton Schoen looked great last night. He went over his total, caught everything thrown his way.
I keep hearing online.
His six catches for 75 yards. Keurig Wheatfall so far has been sort of the breakout performer from the Blue Bomber offense. I think there was a lot of concerns about how this receiving core would look with Kenny Lawler leaving. Jared Stearns looked good. We've talked a lot about his, preseason and play so far with Josh Frey-Sam when he's been on with us. Is the Bomber receiving core actually better than it is last year, despite losing Kenny Lawler?
Absolutely. I would make that assertion right now. I mean, you have Dylan Mitchell on your not even on your starting roster.
Crack the lineup.
This is a guy who you brought in and not a lot of guys get flown in and get press, do press conferences after signing deals. And that's because Dylan Mitchell was an impressive football player with the Edmonton Elks and why the Bombers wanted him. He was supposed to be one. Not like he was supposed to be a guaranteed starter. You don't bring a guy who's a bubble player, give him that kind of treatment. And so it's just a testament to the other players. I think Jared Stearns, a lot of people who would watch that guy in play would have known the value and the potential that he could have had in this offense. We all know the chemistry that Dalton Schoen has with Zach Collaros, and that was easily the toughest piece, the toughest missing piece from this offense last season. So again, we know that chemistry. Kevin Clercius is exactly what the Bombers assumed. I mean, we all enjoyed Drew Wolodarski's time here in Winnipeg, but the Bombers saw a guy who is, younger, physically stronger, is more reliable, when it comes to durability. And you could argue better than Drew Wolodarski. So that's Kevin Clercius here. We just talked about Nick Dembski. Factor in all those things. And you factor in that you have Zach Collaros as your quarterback, and I don't know if it's necessarily, I think the answer is yes to better than last year, but I think a lot of people saw the Kenny Lawler leaving and no slight against Kenny, very talented player. But Carrick Wheatfall's come in and done exactly, if not more than Kenny, we would have expected Kenny to do.
Yeah, no, it's, they're in a good spot right now. And I'm not sure whether we thought that this team would be where they are right now this early with the loss of Kenny Lawler and Zach not playing in the first game. But, I mean, it really has been, despite the huge game that Matt Paterson had when Brady Oliveira went out in the first home game. I mean, overall, this has been a passing-driven offense for the most part, but very well balanced as well. We talked about what the offense was able to do in the fourth quarter. Let's flip it to the other side of the football, the defense. They had moments and some plays that got away from them, but they certainly did the same thing the offense did, and that was take control of that football game in the fourth quarter and not allow Edmonton to do much. What were your defensive takeaways from last night's game? Yeah,
I thought back to vintage Bombers, right? To your point, Huss, vintage fourth down Bombers football where the defense puts the lid on the opponent's offense and the offense finds those scoring plays and those daggers and bullies their way the rest of the game. And we saw that against Edmonton, and we've seen that movie play out over and over and over again at Princess Auto Stadium. So I thought it was a defense that, got a lot of pressure. I mean, you got to give credit to Trey Ford. I thought that was one of Trey Ford's best games, I think, and it's crazy the abilities and the strikes he was able to do on the run. It's like, that's when he's at his best, is when he's moving his legs. It's again, the pocket passing, that's the issue. But I thought he had a pretty good game. But again, it was key turnovers, it was key plays, and then it was shutting things down and allowing the offense to do what they do best. And when both of those units are running, and special teams is contributing the way that they were contributing, I mean, I don't think there's a lot of teams that will be able to beat the Bombers. I think the one caveat here, Huss, if there is one, is, we don't really know how good the BC Lions are. We don't, they have a lot of moving pieces. They didn't have Nathan Rourke for one of the games. So, what does that mean? How are the Bombers? You are what your record says, but how good is the 3-0, especially when you factor in they just defeated an Elks team that, if we're looking at the concerning parts of the tape, this team was tied 23-23 at one point, and we're very much in this game and looked primed to go with your pick, Huss, the spread of under of the 9.5, right? So it seemed to decimate, but the Bombers, as I mentioned on CFL 110. You want to check the receipts, we've seen this movie before. The Bombers just covered this game, and especially against Edmonton. I don't know. I'm going to butcher the stats, but that was one of the big takeaways is they just don't lose to Edmonton. Even in those games, 13 in a row, even in those games, remember that game where it was like Drew Brown came in down like 21-0 and came back and won that game. I mean, they just don't lose to Edmonton. The unfortunate part for Elks fans is Edmonton doesn't have winning records against a lot of other teams either.
Quick hockey note, Pierre LeBrun reporting that Charlie Coyle on the move from the Avalanche to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Another draft day deal today. No idea about what the return is right now, but I'm sure we'll find out in the next 10, 15 minutes as we continue the program here. Jeff Hamilton is with us, breaking down last night's Bomber win. One quick special teams question. We've been paying a lot of attention to Trey Val, and I thought he certainly had some moments last night where he showed explosivity, certainly had a couple nice kickoff returns, but he did have that one fumble, and the Bomber defense bailed him out by getting the ball back on a fumble. But where do you think how critical is it in knowing that Peyton Logan is going to be coming back if he wants to kind of grab that job and be the guy to avoid instances like that, like last night where the ball's put on the carpet?
Yeah, I think he's had that, he lost it last night, but he's had similar issues through the first two games as well. I just don't, to answer the question, I just think the good has heavily outweighed the bad, right? I mean, to your point, it probably looks worse in the film room if Edmonton makes them pay for that and the defense doesn't bail them out. But at the same time, I mean, I think my focus would be at this point, I mean, obviously ball security is, if it's not number one, it's number two on the list of things for returners. That's got to be improved, and it's going to be addressed, and it's going to be talked about, and there's going to be things that are, drills or whatever that are going to be done to do just that. I just think the focus on him right now looks like the Bombers have a return guy, and while Peyton Logan is an option certainly and has some pedigree here in this league, he is coming off an injury, and you'll see. But right now, I mean, this Trey Val guy looks legit, and if he can get those ball security issues under wraps and isn't bobbling plays, and I don't know if that's confidence or if that's just getting ahead of himself or whatever. But I do think that he's done enough to focus on the positives for him.
You know what? Just looking at the rest of the schedule and the lines, we did this CFL 110 on Tuesday. Since then, I'm looking at these next three games: Montreal at Hamilton, BC at Saskatchewan, Toronto at Ottawa. Jeff, this is week 4 of the CFL season, and we could see one starting quarterback under center. That would be Bo Levi Mitchell, who we know is starting tonight. But MBT is going to be in for Montreal. We could see Masoli. Trevor Harris isn't starting. It's going to be Jake Mayer. You're going to have Arbuckle and Dustin Crum. I mean, kind of a bizarre situation this early with the quarterbacking position and 5 backups out of 6 potentially starting.
Feels like 2019 all over again when Cody Fajardo coasted to the West Division MOP, right? Losing out to Brandon Banks at the end of it. But
he was the last man standing.
He was the last man standing and had a good enough season so that it wasn't a joke, because everybody else had missed significant amount of time. And so so I mean, at the end of the day, I wrote about it in my CFL rundown column this week. It is notable. I mean, my comment was, where's the team bubble wrap and trying to figure out ways to relax them. And I think, you look at those injuries and they're all somewhat unique, right? There's no real one pattern of injury necessarily. And look at Trevor Harris. And I think there's an interesting conversation around Trevor Harris, because that followed obviously the illegal block that ended up seemingly ending George Jr.'s season, right? That was a bad replay with the knee. That came as Gordon Williams, I believe it was, took a deliberate hit to Trevor Harris on the next play, and this is to the head, and now he's dealing with concussion symptoms. So there's a little bit of a cause and effect here that I think the league needs to put a little bit of a spotlight on and address here, and maybe even curb, because, especially when you're talking about doling out fines and stuff, you need to send that message. So I believe that maybe came out. I believe it came out yesterday. So I'm not sure if those fines have come, but I do believe something needs to happen there. And the last thing you need, Huss, is the most important and most talented, and the reason why a lot of people come and watch. That's nothing against any other position or star player in this league, but the quarterbacks make the offenses, and having at 5 when you consider Chad Kelly's also, sidelined here, and we're not 100% sure about his present. That's a big issue for the CFL. Good news is, Huss, there's a lot of familiar faces in backup roles, and it's not like years ago where you wouldn't really necessarily know who the backup guy is, right? Jeremiah Masoli was highly sought after at a certain point. Cody Fajardo is a Grey Cup winning quarterback. So is McLeod Bethel Thompson. So it's not the worst case scenario as it potentially could be, but it's still obviously problematic for a league that relies on those players to be their faces of this league.
I can't remember 3 games that, in my opinion, were more of a toss-up than these next 3. I mean, I can give you arguments for every team on how and why that they would win. All the spreads are under 3 points. Listen, I was on Montreal early on. Now with MBT, I am getting a little nervous about this one. This is a huge game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats to avoid another 0-for start, getting the advantage of not having to play Davis Alexander. The Ticats are plus 119 at home. And then this BC-Saskatchewan game, I mean, knowing that it could be Masoli versus Mayer, needless to say, we got it on at plus 5.5, which is nice. The line's at 2 right now. But I could absolutely see the BC Lions going into Saskatchewan and winning this football game. And I'll say the same thing about Ottawa, despite no Chad Kelly. Looks like it's going to be Dustin Crum again for Ottawa. And to me, I think maybe more than anything, I think the Argos come back with a real chip on their shoulder after being ripped to shreds by their head coach after last week's loss. But, I mean, very intriguing and interesting week in the CFL without any real clear favorites in these 3 games.
Yeah, that one to me, I mean, is Jake Mayer the difference in why the Riders, at least through their first 3 games, have made it a 1-score game by the end of the fourth quarter? Like they played down to all their competition. To assume that Jake Mayer, who's going to come in and somehow ignite this offense,
he's not Trevor Harris.
Yeah, he's not. That's kind of my point here. And while Jeremiah Masoli isn't Nathan Rourke, he still has worked with the offense for the last couple of weeks out of circumstance. So that alone seems like a bit of an edge here. But I've said it once, man. I've said it 1,000 times. Like, picking games before the kickoff is so tough in the CFL because you just don't know what's going to be the thing that is the difference. And I really do. While games, and that's what makes the CFL games exciting, do have a lot of momentum shifts, do have a lot of things. I find if you're looking to be responsible and increase your income by trying to predict the future plays or results of games, to do so during the live opportunities, because that's, you can find out pretty quickly if your bet's kind of going to be off here. And that's my takeaway from that.
Hey, just before we break, any intel on the local hockey side heading into the weekend? You're always digging around with some of your sources. Anything that intrigues you? Do you think they make their pick tonight? Might there be a trade, or are we just looking to see when and where Nikolai Ehlers ends up going and how they can fill that spot if he does leave, which certainly I think seems to be where the smart money is?
Yeah, it's funny you ask. I got a text message about 20 minutes before I came on here, and from a guy who's pretty good to me, said the Jets might be interested in someone like Travis Sanheim. So I don't know if that pans out or if that doesn't, whatever. But if you're heading to break and you're giving me last word here, I just want to draw attention to a story I did on the Winnipeg Free Press. I've spent the last 6 months doing it. It's one of my big investigations. It's a deep dive into teacher discipline, particularly when it comes to the teacher registry. If you don't know what that is, read my story. There's a reason why they don't want you to know. It's a investigative piece. It looks into canceled and suspended certificates over 35 years. As a news organization, myself, colleagues of mine, we for years have tried, as we hear these horrendous stories come out seemingly every month about teacher conduct, we have tried to fight tooth and nail to get even just the number of cases, certificates, cancellations, all those things, and to find out how they came to be. Well, the province, in this new registry, put out the slimmest and smallest bits of information, literally to the point where it was just first and last names. And I spent months going through it and doing essentially the government's and this independent commission's work to find the data and important information that the public deserves to read and could have got, quite frankly. So check that out. I appreciate my opportunity to share it. This one is an important one.
Well, listen, I mean, you're just finished off getting the big award at the National Big J Awards. I mean, this could be on the verge of going back to back once this one hits the Free Press right now. So we'll look forward to that. It is an important investigation. I know you've been kind of telling me the work. There's so much that's gone into it. So that's at Free Press right now. One other question for you, and this comes from Rob Mahoney in the chat. It is that time of year. Let's see, where is this? Will you be hitting the waters, and any garage sailing updates from the early part of the season so far, Hammer?
Honestly, devastating news to report on this. And I mean, depends how you want to take this news, because garage sailing certainly decades ago, but I'd almost go as far as to say about 10 years ago, was primarily done. Saturday was your day, and then the leftovers were on Sunday. So if you were a Sunday person, you were kind of a casual garage sailor. If you were more into whatever, you'd go Saturday. If you didn't care, you kind of went Sunday and picked up the scraps. And you could get even better deals on Sunday because people just want to get rid of their stuff. Well, about, 10 years ago, maybe more accurately 6-7 years ago, it started to be Friday at 4:00. So it's a Friday thing.
Happy hour garage sales on Friday.
Yeah, and I'm like, you know what? That's fine, because there are people who are hardcore. So if it starts at Friday at 4 p.m. or Friday at noon, they're there at Friday at noon, or they're there at Friday at 4 p.m. If it starts at 10 a.m. or 9 or whatever on Saturday, that's when they're there. So there's always going to be people who go to them when they start. Well, unbeknownst to me, no one's told me anything. I'm out in Headingley at one of these things. I'm getting my conversation going, as I often do at these places. We're talking back and forth, and they start telling me they're super busy Thursday evening. I'm just sitting here like, Thursday evening? I'm like, when did it? Well, yeah, Thursday. Thursday is the new thing. So it's now Thursday. Plus, the way we're trending here, within the next 5-10 years, we might be looking at a 7-day-a-week cycle here for garage sale. That might just be what we do. It might replace box stores. We might be in the middle of an evolutionary cycle that no one saw coming, including myself, who's been doing this for the better part of 15 years.
Speaking of investigations, I mean, listen, you've just broken it down. The new schedule of garage sailing in Manitoba. Now, like Hudson Bay, the bay's closed. Maybe it is a 7-day cycle to hit the waters. I'll be looking forward to hearing if there's any. Well, I guess you're done already. I mean, it's Friday. The garage sales are basically over right now.
I'm still traditional. I'm OG. It's Saturday morning or bust for me. Sunday only if for some reason I'm driving down a street and I drive by one and I get the itch. But very rarely am I out Sunday. It's certainly a Saturday or bust for me. And it'll never change, I don't think.
Get the garage sales following the NFL model. Nicely done, Chem Dry. Nicely done. Hammer, enjoy the games this weekend. Have a great one, and we'll look forward to a big edition of CFL 110 heading into the next week. Bombers on the road in Calgary for the Stampede Bowl next week. We'll have that for you coming out of the long weekend on Winnipeg Sports Talk next week. Have a good one, and good luck tomorrow morning.
Thanks a lot, my friend, and I'm sorry if your viewership plummeted there, getting off sports, but it is very passionate subject for me. Have a great weekend, everybody. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.
As they said, Derek Schmidt, news you can use by the Hammer. This is, hey, it's a versatile show. We're gonna hit you with all the sports stuff, but on a serious note, Jeff's investigation on the teachers, that's in the Winnipeg Free Press. And then, as we get into this weekend, some tips on the latest on the garage sailing scene by none other than our guy, Jeff Hamilton. Let's do fan feedback for fansfirst.ca, your number one spot for buying and selling Winnipeg tickets on the resale market, where what you see is what you pay. No fees. I know Fans First was busy last night with another sold-out Bomber game. People trying to grab some last-minute tickets to get in. Of course, Bomber games are on Fans First all season long. And, of course, Winnipeg Jets When they get going again, it'll be the number one spot for grabbing your seats on the resale market. Fans first, by fans, for fans, no fees. Some great comments coming out of this last segment. News you can use by Hammer, as I mentioned. The great one from ChemDry Garage Sale following the NFL model. Darth Skater says in America, garage sales start at Friday, 8 a.m. I work. Yeah, many people do. Let's see. Man, anytime I want to go to garage sailing, they do it on a non-pay week for me. Kevin Soldier is in there. And Rob Mahoney's hot today. Garage sailing in Europe will be next for Winnipeg garage sales. And Scardy can't wait for Hammer to discover a George Foreman grill at a garage sale. And yes, WST and GT, or GST, Garage Sale Talk, here on WST. Lots of fun in the chat right now. You know what's coming up in the chat in a minute. Keep your eyes out. Marbles registration will open up in just a couple of minutes. Fan feedback brought to you by Fans First. By fans, for fans, no fees. Big weekend coming up at Royal Sports. If you're looking to get outside, maybe you're heading to the camper or to the lake. Listen, soccer, softball, baseball, tennis, running, a huge Yeti section, amazing selection of bikes that are growing by the week. Royal Sports has everything you need to dominate summer and make the most of this beautiful weather. And meanwhile, while you're there, you can pick up maybe your new Jonathan Taves, number 19 Winnipeg Jets jersey, and the biggest and best selection of new Bomber gear. Tons of cool exclusives for new era available now at Royal Sports, 750 Pembina Highway. Royal Sports Winnipeg on Instagram as well. Give them a follow for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. Lots of CFL football to watch on the weekend. Blue Jays back at it. We got a big game Sunday afternoon in the Gold Cup between Canada and Guatemala. Boston Pizza, the best place to get together with your gang to watch the games on all the big screens. And of course, they've got the brand new summer menu that is just broke out right now. So pop it and try it. Don't forget, they still do have the $15 lunch served in 20 minutes, or it's free. And you can always get the great taste of Boston Pizza if you're staying at home by ordering online at bostonpizza.com. All right, we're going to take a quick trip out to the ballpark and tee up a big homestand starting tonight for the Winnipeg Goleyes with Andrew Collier. But first up, it's Friday. Beer Friday, as Hacksaw would say. Let's give a big cheers to our friends at Little Brown Jug, Winnipeg's favorite local brewery.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
Big week coming up at the ballpark as the Fish are back opening up a homestand tonight. Let's bring in our pal Andrew Collier, GM of the Winnipeg Goleyes, down from Blue Cross Field. What's going on, Andrew? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Hell of a way to kick off a long weekend. Big Bomber win last night, going right into a big week for the Fish, coming back home off the road.
Yeah, we just a quick trip down to Sioux City. Got rained out the other night, so we had a doubleheader yesterday. We split that one, lost the second one, 1-0. Tough result for Luke Boyd. He pitched a great game, but couldn't pull it out. But 2 games below 500 and coming home looking to get on a streak. It's like we're knocking at the door. We just can't kick it in. We'll win a couple in a row and then lose one and win a couple. We just need to get on a streak.
Well, exactly. I mean, I guess he'd had, 4 straight series wins, but, it was always 2-1 and just chipping away. And, after the start that the team had, it is sort of time to get on a little bit of a heater. No better place to do that than home field. And, of course, during the big Canada Day weekend starting tonight. Just quickly on the doubleheader last night, quick turnaround for the club. I mean, normally getaway day, you're maybe playing an early game and you're getting away early. You had 2 games yesterday on the bus, back at it. It's going to be a challenge for the guys to get ready to go from tonight. But, I mean, minor league baseball, these guys are all used to it at some point in the season.
Yeah, they rolled in at about 8 this morning, looking a little tired, went back to get some sleep, and they'll roll back in here for batting practice later. What's interesting, Milwaukee was in Fargo, so they were home and cooled before we even finished our game last night. So they've got a bit of an advantage tonight, so our guys will have to dig deep.
You mentioned, where the team is right now. I mean, 6 back. It's really tight in the West Division, though, right now. And, I mean, really a good week of baseball and a few wins over opponents. And you could completely flip the standings. But there is, I would imagine, a little bit more of a sense of urgency as we get into July to make that happen sooner as opposed to later.
For sure. We're approaching the halfway mark, 20 and 22. But what's interesting, I looked at our stats from last year. This day last year, we were 20 and 23. So it all worked out last year. We just need to get things clicking.
Let's look at what's happening for fans coming up. We kick it off tonight. What is it? Rock Night? Fireworks?
Rock Night.
Big Friday night. Fill us in on what's happening this evening to kick off the homestand.
Yeah, lots of classic rock music tonight before the game. Dave Jeanson from ABC Fire and Safety, they're the sponsor. They're going to be circling the warning track before the game on a whole bunch of Harleys will be rolling around. It'll be quite loud in the ballpark right before opening pitch, and then fireworks after the game. Should be a fun night.
Will you be watering the track before the motorcycles come out for the fans in attendance tonight?
You know what? Doesn't matter how many years I've been doing this. Learn something new just about every day. And 2 years ago, we didn't water the track. And as the bikes came around, pretty much everybody in the stands got covered with dust. So last year, we watered the warning track before, and that wasn't an issue. And we will do that again tonight.
Milwaukee in for this game tonight that is the Rock Night with fireworks. Always a great time to in the middle of summer for the big fireworks nights. Tomorrow, Pride Night, and then Sunday as well with the 1 o'clock matinee to finish off this weekend. And then, Andrew, it's sort of like we just keep on the weekend feel going into next week because Canada Day, always one of the biggest days of the calendar year for the Winnipeg Goleyes, and a unique time for the ball game on Canada Day as well.
Yeah, 4 o'clock. We like to do that time because people can still go and celebrate Canada Day, whether it's at home or a barbecue or at the Forks or go to the stadium. I know there's a lot going on down there too. So having it at 4 o'clock is kind of the best of all worlds, get people down here. And we'll be rocking these jerseys on Canada Day, which one of our junior fan club members designed. We had to design the jersey contest, and that's what
give us the full turnaround. The beautiful Canada 25 on the back, and what's that? A maple leaf at the bottom of the jersey, just on the front. Oh, those are gorgeous.
Yeah, really nice. And we're selling T-shirts that are based on these jerseys, and we'll be auctioning these jerseys off throughout the rest of the season. And these new era hats with the fish with the Canadian flag, those are on sale as well. The players will be wearing those on Canada Day.
Those are nice. I see on the website, Remis has just popped it up that you can pre-order these now. Fill us in on how people get their hands on either the hat or the shirt.
The hats are available in the store right now. The shirts, you got to go online and go to the store on our website, goleyes.com, click on shop, and order your Canada T-shirt.
Oh man, it's a great time of the summer. We're not too deep into the summer. We've still got a lot of run left, but for the Goleyes, much like the season, the time is now to both get out to the ballpark and hopefully get on a little bit of a run for the home team and duplicate exactly what the fellas did last year based on what you said where they were on this same day last season.
Yeah, for sure. I was a little surprised. I thought we had a bit of a better record at this point last year, but no, 20 and 23 on June 27th. So needs to string some wins together. Like you said, 4 series wins in a row, which was great, and came so close to getting a 5th one yesterday. But yeah, time is now.
Well, I can tell you, Andrew, still getting great feedback from our group for the WST gathering we had last week. a gorgeous night, an 8-7 comeback win, and a lot of happy WSTers and baseball fans leaving the ballpark last night. So thanks to you and the staff. Had an absolutely awesome time, and saw a bunch of people at the Bomber game last night from the chat room. They're like, when are we doing it again? So later on this summer, I think we're going to have to run it back.
Yeah, let me know. We'll book a date. Looked like everybody was having a good time, and yeah, thankfully we pulled out a win that night.
No, it was a good time. Again, tonight is Rock Night, fireworks, tomorrow Pride Night, afternoon game on Sunday, and then a day off on Monday, but the big Canada Day game, 4 p.m., Blue Cross Field, Andrew, and I guess tickets, 982-BASE, Goleyes.com, and of course people can pop down and make sure to check out the Pro Shop on Canada Day for those new hats and tees.
For sure, yeah. Come on down. Let's show our red and white pride.
Have a great weekend and a great Canada Day, Cash. Thanks for doing this. Good luck to the Fish to get on a nice run here starting tonight at home at Blue Cross Park.
Awesome. Thanks, Huss. See you soon.
All right, great weekend for some baseball out at the ballpark with the Winnipeg Goleyes. 1 o'clock on Sunday, and then 4 p.m. on Canada Day. Got to get my hands on one of those hats. Those are absolutely beauties that the Fish will be wearing on Canada Day. Hey, I want to shout out our friends at Breezy Bend. Quick Breezy Bend golf update for you from the Rocket Classic. Chris Kirk and Philip Knowles, 14 under par. Jackson Suber, Andrew Putnam at 13. Aldrich Poitgeider, who Patty's got a piece of it, like 150-1, I think, is 2 shots back at 12. Jake Knapp, Ben Griffin, Hideki Matsuyama, Gary Woodland, Luke Clanton, amongst others at 11 under. Top Canadian in the field, I believe, is Adam Hadwin, although it's been a bit of a drop-off today, and I'm not sure we're going to have any Canadians. Yeah, Adam Hadwin is even right now. He's 5 under. He's got to get to 6 if he wants to make the cut. But speaking of Breezy is hosting the Manitoba Open this year. That's taking place at the end of August. Wednesday, August 20th, is going to be probably the tournament of the year. It's the 2025 Manitoba Open Pro-Am at Breezy. Now, this is going to be a big day. Your chance to play with 2 pros, one on the front 9, one on the back 9. No, it's not cheap. It's $4,000 a team, basically $1,000 a player, but it includes the 18 holes of golf, the shared cart, 2 meals, one before the round, one after the round, unlimited on-course beverages, individual and team prizes, and get this, all players receive a tailor-made Spider putter valued at $500. Get to the website, manitobaopen.com, for information on getting into the Pro-Am to grab a team, sponsorship opportunities. They are still looking for a few volunteers, so you can find that there as well. And, of course, tickets that are now on sale for the actual tournament that begins the next day on the 21st and goes through the 24th. And we'll be looking to set up shop, maybe for the Pro-Am day as well, and definitely for the tournament out at Breezy Bend. Again, manitobaopen.com for more information on the Pro-Am and all of that. All right, we are going to, let's do the cool bet lines, and then we'll finish up with marbles after a quick special guest on Labor Day weekend coming up. As I've mentioned, very weird weekend in the Canadian Football League now, with only one starting quarterback scheduled to go, and that, of course, is Bo Levi Mitchell. The Alouettes with MBT at quarterback are 2.5-point favorites over the Ticats. The BC Lions are 2-point underdogs in Saskatchewan against the Riders. Jake Mayer getting the start. We don't know for sure whether it's Nathan Rourke or Jeremiah Masoli, but I think it's likely to see Masoli get the start in a battle of the backups. And then, by the way, Saskatchewan, 2-point favorites, -133 on the money line. BC +2 and +110 on the money line. And the Sunday game is the Argos and Red Blacks. Argos looking for their first win of the season. Arbuckle and Crum expected to be the starters. Argos 2-point dogs, +118 on the money line. Red Blacks -143. and -2. I can't wait for this game on Sunday for Canada at the Gold Cup quarterfinal. They are a -303 favorite to beat Guatemala in regulation. I think my favorite pick on this, though, is Canada to win by 2. Canada -1.5 is at -102. Basically even money on that one. USA, Mexico, and Panama, the favorites to make it through to the next run. And of course, tonight is the NHL Draft. And if you do want to have a little fun with the draft, you can get over to Coolbet. Everyone knows that Matthew Schaefer is going to be the number 1 overall pick. The second overall pick, Michael Remis, -417. I will admit, we just had Stephen Ellis on. I'm going to put a little sprinkle on Anton Frondel to shake things up. 3-1 for Frondel to be the second overall pick in the draft. He is -370 to go third overall to the Chicago Blackhawks. James Higgins is now -200 to be the 4th overall pick, which is interesting because every mock we've seen has Caleb Desnoyers at +250. Remis, I have a feeling that this line movement may indicate that it may very well be the Islanders using the picks that they had and maybe something else to move up and grab Utah's selection at 4 so they can get Higgins, who they've got their eyes on, in addition to picking first overall.
It's funny. I looked at this line like when Steven was on, when you're going through his mock draft, and I think Desnoyers was the favorite like an hour ago. So they're certainly on it here. He liked, like Frondel. It's funny. Frondel is +300 to be second, and Misa +300 to be third. And then he mentioned, didn't he like Jake O'Brien at 5th? That's +1,200.
He's got,
I mean,
right here.
Like, I'm not saying to put like a lot, but if you want to be, you're looking for some entertainment during the draft, I don't know what they're going to be doing. I know Joshua Jackson and Marguerite Moreau from the Mighty Ducks move are going to be making the Anaheim pick, and Nikki Glazer is doing the Blues pick. So we'll see.
No, not John Gruden? Noted Blues fan, John Gruden?
Not John Gruden. Not John Hamm. I'm curious about the Jets pick. I think I speculated with Connor, because who was it who's doing Bailey, the WWE wrestler, is doing the San Jose Sharks pick because she's from San Jose. I don't know if they dip in and
they got the second greatest athlete from San Jose, Bailey.
Who's the first?
Joey Chestnut. Can you imagine the pop if Joey Chestnut came out to make the Sharks pick at 2 overall?
Pop, are there people going to be there? I'm curious, like, what I'm going to be
that's a good question.
watching. Like, it's going to be interesting. And yeah, I don't blame any of the prospects for not going. Like, part of the reason why you would go, shake the organization the hand to get on the stage.
Yeah, they're not there.
What are you going to hug, like, Gary Bettman? Like, I guess that would be a reason to go, but it seems less of an incentive. Like, I don't really. What did they do in the NFL draft? People go, and like NBA, they're all there at the NBA draft too. If the teams aren't there, so
yeah, the teams aren't there. They'll have representatives, I guess, and they basically get those guys on planes right afterwards and ship them out to where they are. And that'll happen with the Jets draft picks. They'll all be coming here to Winnipeg because development camp gets going on Monday, and they'll be on the ice on Tuesday right through till Friday. We'll have lots on that coming up next week on Winnipeg Sports Talk. But just finishing up your draft options over at Coolbet, couple of Henry Bristowicz, or Henny B, the guy that has been mocked to the Jets, his over-under is 30.5.
Okay.
So if he did go to the Jets, that would be under 30.5. And then the 2 Manitobans are on the list as well. Where do we have Roger McQueen, or I guess Roger McQueen from the Brandon Wheat Kings? His over-under is 9.5. And Carter Bear from Winnipeg in the Everett Silvertips, his draft position over-under 14.5. So lots of fun things if you want to make a couple wagers on the draft tonight. It's all up there in the NHL draft section over at Coolbet. One other thing, Reem, we should actually mention, speaking of the National Hockey League, is that there are some off-season specials, and This is probably not something that a lot of Winnipeg Jet fans want to see.
No, I don't want to.
But
no, don't even mention
there are
that.
odds on which team will Nikolai Ehlers sign his next contract with.
Oh no.
The Hurricanes are the favorite at 3-1.
Okay.
The Vancouver Canucks, interestingly, are number 2 at 4-1, which is surprising. I hadn't really heard a lot about Vancouver. The Columbus Blue Jackets plus 450. And then the Winnipeg Jets and Utah Mammoth at 6-1. Now, I get Carolina. They've got a lot of cap space. They're a really good team. They'll be able to make a big offer to Nikolai Ehlers, and that's a team that certainly you can count on being in the playoffs and having a chance to win. I don't know about Vancouver or Columbus. In fact, I would be very surprised, unless the money was just insane. Why would you pick one of those two teams over what you've got here in Winnipeg? Then, of course, Winnipeg at 6-1. The other teams that had been rumored, Leafs 7-1, Kings 10-1, Rangers 15-1, the Edmonton Oilers at 20-1. Very interesting. And funny, we don't see Anaheim or San Jose or any of those teams on the list. Other options, Michael Granlund, who he'll sign next with. St. Louis Blues are the favorite at 3-1, and Mitch Marner. Look at that number for Marner, Remo. Vegas Golden Knights, minus 270. Carolina next at 10-1. Certainly seems like the writing is on the wall that Mitch Marner will be going to Sin City to be a Golden Knight.
Yeah, and just Ehlers, Carolina the favorite. Not a lot of teams there. Like, where's Washington? Could they be a dark horse? Rangers, I think, didn't Cervalli speculate Rangers trying to clear out cap space for him? What's Utah going to do? We keep hearing they're going to make a big splash. If Ehlers signed with Columbus, I think that would be a bit of a stomach punch for Jets fans. For Carolina, they're first place team in their division, trying to get over the hump. So you get it, and you get with their GM being, into analytics and why he would, feel like Ehlers has been underutilized by the Jets and would say, hey, we can give you time. But I look at Carolina's lineup and I still see it. Like, I don't think he's getting on the top line. Their top line seems to be pretty set there. And if that's what he's looking for, I feel like he's kind of roadblocked there as well. So I'm curious where he's going to end up and what he's going to say after as to why he chose and, what he says about Winnipeg after. And Elliot Friedman has been on X saying he feels like Marner's going to Vegas. I think that influences the line there. I think that makes the most sense, and we're waiting here. Okay, how are they going to fit him under? Is Alex Pietrangelo going to go on LTIR? Are they going to trade Barbashev, Carlson? Are the names that are being thrown out there? And Hurdle was thrown out, but I don't know if that was accurate. So Vegas is a team to watch. Utah too. They're up there. They made their big move with Paterka, but are they looking to make more moves? And
there could be. Especially with them being the 4th pick, and we're seeing what's happened with that Hagens number right now. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some action maybe with the Islanders in that 4th pick as Utah does wheeling and dealing. One other thing at CoolBet, did put together a little ride with Huss for the weekend. BC money line, BC to beat Saskatchewan, Toronto to beat Ottawa, and Canada minus 1.5 against Guatemala in the soccer game. That is, the guys gave us a nice boost. Plus 806. That is now plus 929. Available in the combo cards over at CoolBet. By the way, speaking of the draft, just got a text from Greg over at Royal. And the NHL draft hats just came in today. They're going onto the shelves right now. Looking pretty nice, actually. Fanatics is stepping up their game. So they got a number of the teams in the National Hockey League right now. And those are available at Royal right now. So if you want to get it. This is the Jets authentic draft.
You know
hat.
why?
What do we got here, Reem?
It looks like a normal hat. There's nothing crazy. It's got the Jets jersey stripes on the front.
Cool.
It's got a side patch of the Jets. They all have side patches of their teams. And the back clasp is the Jets jersey, striping.
Striping.
I like that.
That's cool.
But it looks like a normal hat. This is a good hat. I go to get hats for my kids, I just want a normal hat. They're all like done, like kitted up with like designs. Just give me a normal hat with the logo, solid color, maybe a beat color.
I'm in with the striping.
This is a good hat. It's got this little detail of the striping. There's nothing crazy on there. Well done. I did actually like, it's funny, the NBA champions hats, how it said champions and they just like attached like a sticker of the winning team's logo. Who won? I don't even remember who won. OKC won. It was so lame. You got to pay the money to manufacture a legit hat and send the other ones to Africa. I don't want to see a hat with blank where you put the sticker of the winning team logo while you're at the game.
That was no way that was the case.
That
it may
was
have just
garbage.
looked that way. They didn't put stickers on the hats.
They
at the
had
game.
blank hats that say champions.
Zero
and they had
chance.
2 stickers. And fourth quarter, they started putting
This is
OKC
fake news,
stickers
people.
on them.
This is fake news.
They need to fully manufacture 2 sets, and we need to see pictures of them donating the non-winning team to charity. That's what we need.
Okay, listen. Last call for marbles.
Look at this. This was the hat. You can fully see the sticker. There, that's the sticker.
It's not that's just the way it looks.
No, they had a sticker, someone there in the locker room applying the sticker during the game. It was lame.
Probably the most outrageous fake news that Remis has ever dropped on this program. This take about them putting stickers on the champions' hats before they
Look at
came
the
out.
hat. I'll bring up another version. It was a lame hat. Here it is. This was a lame hat.
Show
Look at
a
this
picture of a guy wearing
This
them.
was
Yeah,
the
it's
lamest.
like a patch. It's like a patch.
Yeah, a sticker, a patch. What's the difference?
I guarantee they had the same thing for Indiana.
It was that's an adhesive patch. They applied them there. Lame. Very lame. They need to be fully embroidered on the hat.
We'll do some more detective work on this one, and we'll see who's in fact right. I say fake news. Remis says they had blanks and just put these on once they knew it was happening in the second quarter. Anyways, listen, marbles coming up in just a second. If you haven't already, this is your last chance. We're going to get it ready to go and fire it up right out of this, but I do want to bring in quickly, because Big Bomber win last night. Everyone's thinking about the rest of the summer. What about Labor Day? The Huss Bus is firing up again. We're heading to Labor Day with the 1930 crew. Let's bring in Pat Rathwell for the latest on that right before we drop the marbles on WST. Pat, how about that show last night at Princess Auto Stadium?
That was pretty impressive. Little nail biting at going into the fourth, but the boys pulled it out, and the offense pretty much played some bully ball there in the end. It was great. And another awesome win.
Great win, great start to the season. And as opposed to last year when the team was 0-4, this team's flying high, tied for first in the West, but right there with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And you know what that means? The greatest rivalry maybe in Canadian sports. Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, Labor Day weekend. And I can tell you, I mean, regular listeners know, I think, how much fun we had last year on the inaugural voyage. But plans are continuing, bigger and better. One bus already full, and we're getting down to the nitty-gritty for people to make sure that they count themselves in for the Labor Day trip. Fill us in on the latest, Pat.
Well, we're well into our second bus, and then, as a matter of fact, as of last night, we've only got 20 seats left, folks. So if you're thinking about going, if you're on the fence, please don't hesitate. Reach out to us on our website. I know Remis has it there. He'll put it up for you shortly, I'm sure. But please get in touch with us right away. Don't miss out on this. With Jeff, Tara, and I, this is a trip that is for the fans, by the fans. That's our motto, and that's our mantra. And even back in the day, I was telling Tara last night, sitting with her dad, I was able to talk to Jerry quite a bit about Labor Day. It was one of his loves, and he inspired me a lot. He gave me a lot of good ideas for the trip, and he was just so happy that we were sending Bomber fans to Regina at that time, because I guess the attendance for Bomber fans had dwindled. And he was always asking me about the numbers and what we were doing, and very big supporter. And it's so great to have Tara on board, because she does
She's the brains of the operation. Let's face it. I mean, listen, here, but honestly, the organization of the event last year was amazing. Listen, I've done this a few times, but we really did take it up a notch last year, and I cannot wait for year number 2. Listen, there are a lot of people that have not been a part of the Labor Day trip. And listen, the game is obviously the highlight of it all, the Wayne's World Party beforehand, but I mean, the entire travel day going down, the Saturday, the Bomber Party at night, there's a lot to this. So fill people in on what you guys have put together and what is all included in the package for the 1930 crew trip that we'll be a part of.
So this is pretty much an all-inclusive trip. I mean, you don't have to worry about anything. You basically show up at the stadium 8 o'clock or 8:15 to check in, hop on the bus, and just enjoy the party and starts there. And I mean, your transportation to and from the stadium at game day, you got 2 nights hotel at the DoubleTree, which you can attest to us is a pretty good place.
That was the game changer, honestly. A lot of stuff you guys did great last year. The location of that hotel right downtown. Listen, I've stayed farther out, like down the highway. You're getting in cabs, you're doing Ubers. It was phenomenal. Nice hotel, too. Everyone seemed to really like that. And that was a coup by you guys to get us in that place.
Yeah, I had in the past, in my past tours, I had used to use the Ramada Inn, which is across the street, and unfortunately, they were full when we first started it. So they referred me across the street, and I mean, it worked out really well. And Brian at the DoubleTree has been fantastic to deal with, and I mean, immediately after last year, we jumped on it, and I booked the rooms almost immediately after our first trip. So that went well. So you get 2 nights hotel at the DoubleTree. You're getting your game ticket. And, you're getting a bunch of swag. You'll get surprise. I don't want to blow all the surprises because I think Tara and Jeff will get on my back for that. So, but I don't want to cause any.
There was some great surprises last night, right from last year, I should say, getting on the bus. Hell, even you guys making breakfast for everybody when we showed up.
Well, that's going to happen again. That'll happen again. So you'll have your mimosas and coffee, and there'll be there may be a few Jell-O shooters floating around. Not saying
it wouldn't be the Labor Day Classic or the Labor Day trip if there weren't.
Yeah.
And I know you guys are working maybe on a little patio party at the hotel. I mean, the bottom line, though, is that there's only 20 seats left. So listen, I had people at the game last night. Is you doing Labor Day again? Yes, we are. Said, listen, watch the show today because we'll have all the details for you. But we did want to do it today because we didn't want to make it too late where people that were thinking about it were left out. So, Pat, very simply, if people want to count themselves in, they can put a deposit on right now. Give people the details on what they need to do to count themselves in and get one of the final 20 spots before we fill it.
All you need to do, folks, is you go onto our website and at the 1930crew.com, and you'll see the Book Now tab. You just go on there. You can use credit card. You can do e-transfers. It's very, very easy. All we require for you to get in is there's easy payment plans, but you just need $100 down to reserve your spot. And, you can pay the balance hopefully by August 1st. We're very flexible with that. So, it's very simple. And the website this year is new for us. Another thing that Miss Maslowski has done for us. So,
guys got dragged into the future.
Yeah.
Said, you can use this thing called the internet to simplify things a little bit.
Yeah, good point.
But yeah, there's the details. And if you go to the1930crew.com, you can get all the details on the trip. You can book now and get your deposit in. I'll have to do full payment by the beginning of August. And then join myself, Bombing, Schnitzy, and a great crew of Bomber fans for a bigger and better tour this year. And of course, Pat, we walked out with a big smile on our face after another win last year against the Rider fans. And I have a feeling, considering the way this season has started, we're in for another great weekend. That I can guarantee, and hopefully another big win for the visitors at the Labor Day Classic.
Yeah, you betcha. And you know what, Huss, just on behalf of Jeff, Tara, and I, we just want to thank you guys and all the WST supporters out there that have really stepped up and helped us promote this. We certainly couldn't do this without your help. And we look forward to seeing everybody on the Saturday morning. And I promise you guys a great time. It's going to be bigger and better than last year.
Dude, I can't wait. And to be honest, I mean, we've talked about doing something. I mean, you have great experience in this. I mean, the great friends, great people. It made so much sense to just be a part of it and let you guys do what you're good at. And of course, we're going to let everybody know about it and get this sucker full and get ready to have a great weekend on Labor Day in Regina. Again, gang, it's the1930crew.com. Get on over there, check out the details, join us for what will be a hell of a weekend as the Bombers keep on rolling and into Regina to play their biggest rivals on one of the most fun weekends of the year. Pat, we'll look forward to seeing you out at Princess Auto Stadium, and we're counting down the weekends till Labor Day. Have a good one, my friend.
Thank you, Huss. Take care.
700 acres. All right, it's just about time for the marbles. I see Derek Schmidt in chat mentioning that he met the commish last night. And it was great to see Derek. He was another one of the WSTers was there. I actually sat right by Derek in the second half with Scott and the rest of the gang. And shout out to Derek, one of our most loyal listeners, said it was great to see you on Winnipeg Sports Talk today. I'm sure it was the highlight of Stuart Johnson's day, other than being a part of that amazing crowd last night at Princess Auto Stadium. All right, Remo, we are set to go. How many marbles? Where are we going today?
Where are we going? Oh, let me write it down here. I wrote it down, and I did give you a marble. I gave Zach Collier a marble, and yes, me, myself, and I says now 10 more minutes of talking. Make that 20. Thank you. Zap Invasion Machine. So I gave you, Zach Claris, and Nikolai Ehlers a marble. So I don't know. We can just rant around for another 20 minutes before we drop.
We're doing it now. We got
so
a draft.
much more.
We don't want this show to be dated by the time we upload it, with the draft starting at 6. So, but hey, just a heads up, and if you haven't already, epic new edition of Runway coming out of the playoffs that is up. I haven't seen it yet. I'm really looking forward to it. Sarah and her staff at the Jets have done such a great job on that all year long. And from what I have heard, this is an epic 45-minute episode that takes us through the playoffs with the Winnipeg Jets. Check that out over on the Winnipeg Jets YouTube channel. All right, Remo, let's do this.
Yeah, I got to set aside some time for this Runway. I need like the 4K Blu-ray version. I don't know if there's like a special one where they're all together, or I got to fire up the YouTube. But shout out to the Runway crew. Amazing work. I think you're featured in part of that too. They've been sending them clips. So shout out to Sarah for including us in those. It's an honor.
Right on. Maybe they can include this incredible marble race that's coming up. Here we are. The Zip Invasion Machine. 243 marbles are in. We've added Zach Collaros. We've added Nikolai Ehlers. I think I might bet Ehlers 6-1 for his next contract to be with the Winnipeg Jets. Wouldn't that be nice? We'll be talking about that next week when we're back after the weekend. But here we go. It's not Friday until the marbles have dropped on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Thanks to Shipman Associates for the championship hoodies we've got. for the winner tonight and every Friday here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Without further ado, let's drop the marbles and see what the Zap Invasion machine has cooking for us on a Friday afternoon. All right, interesting start. Who's coming out first? Steiner and Boba Jet. Will Sutton. Will's getting ready for a busy weekend down at the ballpark. What's up, Will? Okay, Will Sutton's in first. Now Steiner. But we've got a lot of marbles on the other side as well. As we go in, people on opposite sides, no real extended lead, and now the marbles enter the twin orbs before running through. Oh, we're seeing a few. Spency 5 Centsy just got popped. It's the far side where the marbles have come out first. It looks like Darren C is in first place right now. A nice transition for the ones on the other side. And now we move into this next funnel. Nicole J, looking good. Tom Fran. And what's that one first place?
Fool's Gold?
Fool's Gold. Nicole J, Royster, Darren M. Jake's looking good right now. Oh, look at Eagle Eyes. Fresh off bouncing me in the poker tourney on Monday night. Still can't believe that Hammer took it down. We'll have another one relatively soon. All right, we got Lauren Finley in the mix there. Isha Boy Bruce coming up. Zach Collaros. But Grandpa and Claude Foster's first into the funnel. There's Ray. Who's going to come on down first? It's Brad Marchand.
Brad Marchand.
He's finished partying. He's finished partying long enough for the win the Stanley Cup to pop in. It's Brad Marchand and Zach Collaros right now. 1-2 in today's marble race. Let's go, Zach. Last thing we want is Stanley Cup champion Brad Marchand to be the winner. Zach Collaros in first place. He's hot. Brad Marchand, a very nice transition through that last one. Now we've got Grandpa, Jared Kronk. Who's going down first? Nicholas! Wow! What a finish, Remo. We had like 8 marbles there, and who dropped first? It was Nicholas. Just beating Royster by a hair. Jared Kronk in third. Dale Sawchuk fourth. DJ 22 fifth. Eagle Eyes number 6th. Kelly Strothman 7th. VR Montenegro 8th. XS Revolution 9th. And Evan Hunter rounding out the top 10. I can't wait to see the times on this to see how close that was, Remo. That's got to be one of the closest finishes in the history of WST marbles. Pretty good track too.
I had to review a couple. I thought this one was good. Zap Invasion Machine. Some people were joking it was actually Zap Collaros in there. And Nicholas 121, he did have a super chat earlier saying, "Have a good long weekend, Winnipeggers." Obviously does not influence the marble race, but do want to give him
good karma.
Give him a shout out. It's just good karma, I guess. But
Nicholas.
I see Jared Kronk typing wow in all capitals. Sharpie Dog typing wow. Royster writing wow so close. Sharpie Dog saying did Kronk dirty, justice for Kronk.
Brad Marchand in chat as well. Robbed. All I do is win.
Yeah. That's a big babyface turn for Marchand, I think, since the final. So people like Marchand now. He's not a bad guy anymore.
That is awesome. Well, I see Riley Mara was in the chat today. I actually got to meet Riley yesterday. Just still such a fan of the amazing work that he did, really setting the bar for the content team at the Bombers. And now they're still living up to that high standard with some great stuff coming out of the Winnipeg Football Club. All right. So the difference, wow, 242.83, 242.94 for Royster. And then Jared Kronk just took an extra half second or so to get across third place. So we gave you the top 10. We'll run down through it. Schickster, nicely done. Brad Marchand in 13th. Zach Collaros, 15th. There's Coach Keyser, MC Streck. There's Royal Sports. Don't forget the draft hats available on the shelves right now. Big Uke, one of the nasties from EST. What's up, Uke? We got Zach Brown, Jet Oil Tom's there, T. Will, Bravo Bry, Mark Amph, and Nicole J. Nicole J was right there for a while. Obviously got head up. Grandpa as well. A couple of those marbles that were right at the start got held up at the bottom. There's Dark Moon, Russ Lowen. Hustler, 50th. All right, I'll take that. Okay, just a quick aside. My head-to-head bet every week is with Bozeman. Look at that, Remo. Hustler 51, Bozeman 50. Hustler 50, Bozeman 51. Wow. Chuck another one up for me, dude. Derek Honer. We got Matt Lang. What's up, Matt? There's Phyllis, Vincent Toba, WST favorite Mary Jane there, 66th. Keep her rolling, Reem.
Riley Mara says Kronk is a choke artist. Throw the challenge for flag Kronk. Sorry, Jared.
There's Bridget. Good to see you last night as well. Mike Wynn. There's Dr. Terry, St. Vital Dental Center. What's up, TJ? MVP. There's Wayne Bretzky. He was representing at the game last night, of course. Amy Weeb. Amy, thanks for jumping on as a member of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Appreciate you. There's Transcona Logan. We got CFL 60 OG. There's Jerry Beluda. What's up, Jerry? Rob Mahoney. Strong performance today in the chat by Rob. Unfortunately, not as strong in the marble race today. There's Tristan Rivers Music. Turd Ferguson. Bart Oman. Lulu M. KWB. Kenny's Water Bottle.
Yes.
There we go. Sky May. Seabreeze. Patrolman Pete. All Caps Kyle. And our guy, Donnie Boy, the last marble across the path. Geez, Pat Rathwell came on the show and then got bounced. Amanda bounced as well. She's usually right there at the end, not getting thrown over the top rope. There's Travis Spratt. What's up, Trav? Will Sutton, ready for the week. And there's the rest of everyone that was not fortunate enough to cross the finish line. Nicholas, great stuff. Send us an email, winnipegsportstalk@gmail.com. Let me know what size you are for the hoodie and holler at you. You can come and pick it up after the long weekend. Great stuff. Now, Remo, I know a lot of people might be having different plans. Probably a lot of people are taking Monday off. Mm-hmm. We will not be. We will be back on Monday with a full show recapping what should be a very busy week in the national, or weekend, I should say, in the National Hockey League. We'll hear from Kevin Shovel-Dayoff, whoever the Jets end up picking. We'll go over the picks. And listen, if today is any indication, we will see some more player movement. So it should be a big show. Of course, wrap the week in the Canadian Football League as well. Heading into Canada Day, Tuesday, which of course is NHL Free Agency Day. Thanks to everyone that jumped on with us today, hanging around. Of course, all of our guests, Pat Rathwell, Andrew Collier, Stephen Ellis, and The Hammer. And of course, Michael Remis for getting us on and off the air. Thanks to all of our sponsors, and thanks to all of you for a great week. Have an awesome weekend, and whether you're off at the lake, make sure to join us for a big show coming out of the weekend, Monday, 1 o'clock, right here on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Have a good one, everyone. We'll see you Monday.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.